Hello everybody and welcome back to the Challengers Elite. We're in the second week and our third overall day worth of group stage action to get ready for us, and we're starting of course with the European region. I'm Alan, I hold shift on Frio. With me as always, Visions, Infinity, and Infinity, I'm not gonna lie, you came on with that shirt today and I had to turn my contrast and my saturation, my monitor down. You are looking bright today, my friend.
Yeah, I apologize to everybody at home. Like I said, like Alan says, right, you're going to have to turn your monitor settings down. If you're watching this on your monitor or your TV, you might want to turn that brightness all the way down. Look, I was in the shop the other day, I saw this, and I was like, this is an 8 on the AA scale. I tweeted this, and for those of you who don't know what the AA scale is, because nobody knows, because it's my scale, it's the Alan Austin scale, which means that it's an 8 out of 10 for impressing you two on a broadcast, and I feel pretty good about it.
Now you hit the mark. Austin, I mean, 8 out of 10. Do you agree with that result?
Honestly,
pretty fair?
I'm thinking 9 out of 10, bro. He's got the hair coming out here. He's got the Dave Hasselhoff going. I mean, you got the tan going too, Alan, after the trip. Like, I feel like I'm the one slacking here, you know?
What are you talking about? You got your haircut for the first time in
you know
a year
what?
and a half,
That's true.
So you're looking just as fresh too. But we've got a lot to look over here in the European region. Let's take a look to see how the first 2 days have resulted when it comes to the standings overall. Again, we've got today and tomorrow to finish off this group stage before we get into the knockout bracket. And yeah, a couple of teams up top, but it's really that mix right in the middle. You've got Gridlock City, a traffic at 2-2 all the way through here, Austin.
That's exactly it. I mean, that is, I think, the biggest factor, and not something we've seen a whole lot over the elites, is seeing like this many teams, I think, be tied going in towards what is a massive week, right? Because we're talking about having to come up with some massive wins in towards these next couple of days here for you, and you have 4 squads that are essentially looking to also hold the head-to-head over each other, so that you do, in fact, kind of put yourself in a better position in case it does come down towards some of these tiebreakers. So that is the biggest factor here when you're kind of looking at it, and I mean, we do have a pretty big matchup coming right in towards the mix of it, right? When we have the originals coming in here for us, Las Pepes as well here, 3-1. Like, there was a couple of big matchups that come right in towards the mix with it, and being able to get yourself a dub on the board and just make sure you can clinch a playoff spot is really what this is all about.
I believe there may be one small mistake in there. It should be Orglis, I believe, is 3-1. Los Pepes at 2-2. But regardless of that, I actually tilt my eyes down towards the bottom of the standings here, Brody. Amelia Strays, champions, looked really good in stage number 3. An awful start for them so far, just 1-3, pretty much in a must-win situation from here on out.
Yeah, this is easily the biggest question for me. I think coming into stage number 4 is how are Amelia Strays going to continue on from their stage 3? What I think everybody would describe as a Cinderella performance from then, a story and a half, coming out of obscurity to winning stage 3, just mind-blowing, I think, for everybody involved. And, they made a roster change in between stage 3 and 4, one that I don't think they were really happy to do. Of course, Nuke J decided to take some time away due to mental health reasons at the end of the day, right? I mean, nobody can blame him for that. If he wants to step away and take a break, he wants to step away and take a break. And unfortunately for Amelia Strays, they have to fill that hole one way or another. So, now they've got a new 4th in, and I mean, it's Wardy. I don't know if they've done that well since. I mean, quite clearly something's going wrong because they're 1-3. They certainly don't look anywhere near as comfortable.
It's just really interesting because that team surprised us, like you mentioned, Cinderella story throughout the stage, a lot of new names that we had never seen before in the Elite, and now you bring Wardy in the mix, like you mentioned. I think we've all at one point in time have talked very highly about the performance that Wardy can bring to the table, but not at least as of yet. But taking a look at our schedule as far as what in specific we'll be watching for the day here in Europe, like we mentioned, we'll be largely staying with what our 2-2 teams have to offer here for us, because the first match that we're going to have is Los Pepes versus the Originals. Both teams sitting at 2-2. Los Pepes came out super hot, Visions, a 2-0 start rather for them, but things have a little bit collapsed for them in the last day of the first week as they sit just even at that 500 win rate.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big factors, and overall this squad is like really talented when it comes down to the hard points. Like overall, like 5-1, these guys I think have been pretty lights out. They're able to make a couple of comebacks happen even towards the last week. It's when they get towards those game 5s, so they get towards those game 2 and 3s, that they're not really able to pull the same amount of weight, and that's where I think they've been struggling just a tad bit. But on the opposite hand here, I think this is actually an even bigger matchup for the Originals, because they've only beaten the bottom teams here, really for us, right? Point. So coming in towards this one, I feel like they really need to show us that they can in fact kind of fight against some of these squads that are either tied with them or even better than them, in order for us to kind of say, all right, they have a true shot going in towards playoffs here. So this is going to be a big one here for them to see if they can kind of come out and implement that for us.
Our focus obviously is on the first course, but just briefly, just to touch on the second course for us here. Another Battle of Spain here, Infinity. We've got a lot of Spanish representation throughout this stage. War Mavericks, where's your headspace at for that one when we get to it?
That's going to be a great match, 100%. I think that's actually one of the biggest storylines we have here coming into stage 4, right? With War and
Agreed.
Mavericks. War, I'll happily say it. I think Kev's going to kill me for saying it, but War have not had a good showing over the last few weeks. In stage 3, it wasn't abysmal. They finished in 5th, but it certainly wasn't what War wanted. I think if you compare it, back when they were Los Galacticos a few months ago in stage 1, they won stage 1. They were one of the top 2 teams easily alongside August, and I think they've had a real fall from grace. A change was necessary, so they drop Invidian from the roster, or they bring him into the coaching role. They bring in Yakko, and the team now looks a lot better. Unfortunately, that was at the expense of that Mavericks Gaming Club roster, who now have had to pick up Vickle in place of Yakko, of course, who jumped ship to the fellow Spanish roster. Creates a very interesting dynamic there.
But we'll take a look at the map set here for our first overall schedule. Talk more about War and Mavericks when we eventually get there. But of course, all eyes on Originals and Pepe's. Here is our 5 map set. And well, first and foremost, I think everyone will look over towards the end of that 5 maps and say, oh, we got Standoff into the mix. I know, just obviously being recently added in for this stage. We've only seen it a couple of times, really largely throughout either Challengers or the CDL thus far, but an exciting venture nonetheless. So speaking on both of these teams, maybe more specifically on Originals Visions, you talked about the fact that, or at least we have that, hey, they've really only beaten teams that are currently at the bottom of the standings. This one feels like a really big proving point for them in a way.
It sure does. And I guess the saving grace is you can always almost rely on your game 3s at the moment, because they are actually 4-0. Originals have been pretty
really
good when it comes to control, right? It's just the problem is being able to actually contribute in towards the other game modes, which are more important considering you're playing 2 of them of each set in towards the best of 5. So that's where we really need to see them shine, and they've been close. A lot of their games, you can see the potential that they have for as far as being able to pull out some of these wins. It's just actually being able to do it and execute on it. I think that's really been the biggest problem overall when we are watching over them. But yeah, this is a really big statement game for them to come in and actually prove that they can do it, because that's the biggest factor when we're looking at the standings, is that any squad actually has the potential just about to make it in towards playoffs, but you have to get those wins. You have to really come out and give it everything you got in towards this week here if you're going to be able to do it.
On the other front here, just looking at the Pepe squad, Infinity, already mentioned, incredible at hardpoint. One of the main reasons why they were able to start off their stage 4 very, very solidly. Search and Destroy has been a big bane for them, though, only winning a single map out of the 5 times they've played Search. So, at least in my mind, you might agree, you might not agree. I at least want to see this squad improve in that department specifically after the week of getting through the second day, now here into the third.
Yeah, I will say for this Los Pepe's roster, yes, all right, your Search and Destroy is not that great at the moment, but your Hardpoint's doing pretty good. You're 5-1
really well.
In that game mode, one of the best teams we have here in Stage 4, if not the best team, I'm pretty sure at the moment in Hardpoint. They are having a splendid time of things. And all right, yeah, your Search and Destroy is a little bit naff. It's not too great, to be honest with you guys. You need to get some improvements going there. But honestly, if I'm Los Peppers at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at overall in the standings. You started week number 1, 2-2. Yeah, you're still middle of the pack with everybody else. But, for a roster that is, I think, the definition of a dark horse team, an underdog by the very definition of the term, they are doing perfectly fine at the moment. They just, like you say, they need to iron out some of their minor issues. And, hey, they could be battling with the big boys.
Already are in some ways, right? They come off with a really tough opening schedule and do very well with it. But I know for a lot of people that are out there, these names are going to look maybe a bit unfamiliar to a certain extent, especially for Los Pepe. It's just about every single one of those players are making their debut in the Elite this stage. And on the other side for the Originals, well, we know that Raffy, Grad, Hockey are going to be playing together, but Furious is now in the mix. And I'll just say this much, day 2 for Furious was absolutely lights out. He had a 3.84 KD on one of the hard points, went 27-7. It was absolutely unbelievable thing. So, maybe for you, Visions, first and foremost, out of the 8 players we're going to have in the lobby here, who are you most looking at to maybe be that kind of standout player that we should definitely learn to love?
I think I'm looking at Torres here on Los Pepes overall. I was watching over some of the hardpoint games, and when they are winning some of these hardpoints, it's off of him actually just implementing so much slaying power. And when you're finding all of these additional kills on towards the map, it makes it pretty easy to collect time, and he's playing a massive factor in that. So I think that's really the kind of player to keep your eye on when we do get ourselves in towards this matchup, because he's been pretty good. He's even actually had a couple of big moments in towards the S&Ds. It's just about, getting consistent with those again. That's kind of the big factor here for both of these squads. That's why I think this game mode is probably going to be the fun one to watch in towards the set. But overall, that's the player I'm keeping my eye on, and I think he's going to be able to hopefully step up here for a squad and bring home a big dub.
Well, we're about to load into the Moscow hardpoint. Infinity, I'll leave you with the final overarching question. Who else you looking at to get started here for map number 1?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think Austin's probably got the call there, right? With Torres being the player to watch here. Outside of that, though, like, I don't know. I'm gonna go Rafi on the originals. I don't know if that's out there cool. I think Rafi is actually a really underrated AR player. He's definitely my player to watch on this originals roster. So as we get into the map, maybe not. Look, I don't know why I even bother. Rafi is definitely the player for me that I'd be looking at here. And honestly, you know, I say Rafi pretty confidently, but any of those original players, I think, you know, we got to look at them a couple of stages ago in stage 2. Yep. And they weren't terrible, right? I mean, I think they finished 6th, I want to say, if I remember correctly. It wasn't a bad performance at all. So we kind of know what to expect, but any of those players, I think, can definitely step up here and perform pretty well.
And I'll just say this much, looking at the map set overall, one of the things that we kind of saw from Los Pepes in their first day was kind of like you had mentioned for a moment there, Austin, just how explosive their SMGs were just moving around the map. We saw a lot of checkmate from these guys, but they have played Moscow a single time. That was versus Team War, and it was a really close call. I'll say this much, I don't know who picked what here, but for the side of the originals, putting Los Pepes on a map that they're going to have to really work those lanes a little bit more astutely, I think is really, really smart, because Checkmate can flip in an instant. Obviously, Moscow, a bit more delayed when it comes to how you can influence those spawns and who gets the favor of the hard point. So maybe a player like Rafi very well could have that big day. Listen, we're going to give this a try one more time, though. So, gentlemen, take it away. Map number 1, Los Pepes originals coming at us.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Brody, we got our matchup here. It's time to get in towards it to see how it's all going to play on out for us. Remember, a big matchup to see who, in fact, is able to hold the head-to-head and kind of break this 2-2 ties that we have across the board. And Grad is where we're going to be kicking things off, as he's got Eski's control already built up here for himself. Teammates moving in towards the hill. Do see some white coming in towards the feet already. And Los Pepes, though, aren't going to be able to find the pinch. Now it's just about battling out in the front.
Yeah, I think early on in a hard point like this, right, Austin? I mean, I know we took this to kind of death with Moscow hard point, but you need to make sure you keep on that right side of the map, and that's where you're seeing Los Pepes, being a little more assured here that they don't get any players slipping through lobby. We actually see a very crucial gunfight being won over there right out the gate here by the originals. That's going to be Hawkey, who could provide pretty important gunfights here early on, coverage on the map. Unfortunately, his teammates are still spawning out in Neverland here. So while all these fights are going down in P1, Hawkey still has quite a lot to do by himself, and honestly, that's a lot to ask out of somebody.
Yeah, just a bit too much. However, there is a few reinforcements here. They just have to try and find a couple players up top, which they do so successfully. Rafi able to open up that lane, and Brad's in towards the back. You still have presence on the hill at the moment for Los Pepes, but a chance to be able to control the spawns and break in towards the hill now for the originals. Trades back and forth, but it's going to be Hockey finding the double. Do we get a double out of one? No, we do not. Buzzer will fall down, so that's going to be a couple of kills that come on through. The originals going to do a good job of controlling those spawns, and now a chance to actually run away with a nice little lead.
Indeed it is. It's going to be the originals in for the hard point. This is quite a lot of time to give away if you're a Los Pepes, so maybe you want to go in for this hit one final time before you start giving it up. You can already see number 2 and 3 on the minimap. That's going to be Traudy and Torres. By the way, just a heads up for you guys, a little PSA. His name is self Q in game, and when I messaged Traudy about this, which is his name on Twitter and has been his name for many years in European Call of Duty, he was like, yeah, just call me what you want. Call me Q, call me Traudy. I don't mind, to be honest. So you guys at home, if you want to kind of give your head canon as to whatever you want to call him, Q, Traudy, I don't know. But we're going to call him Traudy here on this broadcast. He's currently on our screens looking for some more kills. Unfortunately, going to lose that one inside the back to Hawkey, and now maybe a hit coming in from behind from the originals.
Yeah, you can't afford to lose this setup, and are they going to read this many numbers in towards the back? Because if these kills go through, they can flip things out very quickly. That first kill is going to come on through. Grad will drop, but you have Rafi in towards the back. He's playing ever so patient, and this very well could pay off for him. That big gunfight comes through for Rafi. He's now playing his life while the pinch comes in from the side. I believe that is actually going to be Grad, but he can't collect the second. Spawns look to be good right now for the originals, but you still have presence in the hill for Los Pepes. We'll see Claus move in, but he can't double up, and now a chance to be able to fight for the last 18 seconds.
There's Fusion's over here. He's going to, like I say, try and fight for the last 18 seconds of time. Realistically speaking, though, that is a last chance saloon effort, really, for Los Pepes. That's, again, not really time you want to push for. You want to make sure you get map control for the next rotation. Over towards the boulevard, over towards the street, hard point. And unfortunately for Los Pepes, I don't actually think they've done it all that successfully. You can see the control on the minimap. And as I speak it, into existence. The Originals are going to be able to hold on to control. A couple of kills going the way of Originals. They do win out the trades. Now Los Pepes going to have to just try and barrel down, get a foot into the hard point maybe, and come for some contention, because right now the Originals about to take the lead.
Good claws, good shots. Got Rafi in the hills on 2, 12-6 start. The AR is really starting to pick things up for the side of the Originals as there's 30 seconds left. You don't want to give this time over for free, so Las Pepe is going to give this one last good go. In through the street they come. Torres waiting for that opening, able to find himself one, expecting a second to be close and nearby. He's got a good read on it, but Fusion there to back him up for the support. So that is an excellent break that comes through. Las Pepes are going to regain that lead back in their favor, and they might just be good for that last 10 seconds as we look towards the rotation for new.
He's going to hit a reset here, and it's pretty even, really, at the end of the first set of rotations, right? Nobody's really coming out in the lead here. The Originals and Los Pepe seem to be trading blows at this point in time. One of them has to kind of pull away sooner rather than later. As we look over towards Los Pepes, maybe they're the team to do it. Q inside the hardpoint, aka Traudy, looking for a 2. He will actually find it. Nice Semtex coming in from Corky, though, to trade things out. It won't last all that long as Los Pepes able to regain control of the hardpoint. The Originals going to have to start thinking sooner or later about rotating over towards the new hardpoint. Grads wants a piece of the action inside the middle hardpoint for the moment, though. And to be fair to them, they do actually have somebody in, but again, it won't last that long. Los Pepes, their presence over towards this platform area, Austin, just way too strong.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not letting them push through the sides, and as long as they keep this contested, it's not too bad, because you can see it on the minimap, they're already looking towards the fast track for that P2 hill that allows you to have the early setup. Might just be a good chunk of time that you come away with. Yeah, sure, the last 6 seconds end up going over, but now you have to fight through Taurus, who's already positioned on top of the statue. Oh, not going to be able to find Furious Claws. Almost snaps on Rafi. Last time it was Rafi that broke this setup open. We'll see if he can maybe do this again, but Buzza's not going to let that happen twice. Crew right inside of the hill is there, and now I think we may have lost one, but overall, looks like everyone's still in the lobby for as far as what we can see. Player 1 isn't moving, but we'll see if they can, in fact, try to hold on towards this, and might have just been an observer or something like that for us, Brody, so I think we're all good. I think we're good.
Everyone's still in the lobby. We're fine for the moment.
I saw timeout, so I was worried. I'm like, not a replay, not like this. It's a good map.
It is a good map. It is a very good map right now, and this actually, I feel, could prove a crucial moment in the game, right? Because Los Pepes, they got the majority of time off the back of P1 there, Austin. They also did an excellent rotation, probably the most solid one we've seen so far, over towards P2, where Los Pepes are able to get the majority time. They've now given themselves what I would describe as a quite comfortable lead. And, you know, over the course of the season, this rotation over towards Fountain Hardpoint, it's become a lot easier to break as teams have got more and more used to it. We'll see if Los Pepes are able to not necessarily shut the door on the game here, but definitely cause some further problems for the Originals squad. It is the Originals in here for the moment. Let's see what Los Pepes are able to do to try and break on in.
They're taking their time. Rafi defending the front as the offensive push about to come on in. Fusion slips by. Good cover shots from Taurus, and now they're on the point. There comes Fusion for a 2. Breaks this hill open. Taurus with the patience will find himself the kill if the challenge comes through, and he's not done. Snapping for maybe 3. Beautifully done. Able to get a bit of assistance there in towards the end, but Las Pepes, they break that from the front, Brody, and this is a big chunk of time that might just play the difference in the result.
It might. Yeah, I said it, right? The Originals, they kind of needed all that time, but now Los Pepes, they're in. They're doing more damage to the scoreline. That P2 hardpoint, I think, you know, as we come to the end of the match, that might come back to haunt the Originals here in map number 1. Well, we'll see about the rotation, though. This, again, could be a moment where the Originals, if they hold a full 60, they'll be right back into the game. But Los Pepes, they've been clinical on these breaks. Can they get it done this time? Fusions with a couple of crucial gunfights. Is able to pick up one somehow, staying alive for the second. And while all that's going on, Rafi dies over towards the bank. So Los Pepes in for a rotation. Austin, they quite frankly shouldn't have it.
Oh, over 200 points. Hockey is keeping this play alive, but unable to find any value on that pinch. So Grad needs to pick this position up, and he will find himself a kill on towards Fusion, but still breaking and holding the point here for the last 30 seconds. It's going to be the difficulty, and you see Taurus move right in to actually pick Grad up there for a late trade, and the overwhelming shots through the street side. Looking strong for Las Pepes. Hockey just going to try and move in for the last 15 or so here. Good shots, and that actually might be good. We'll see one last hit from the side as Fusion doesn't want to give this time over for free. Taurus also going to hit the street out with them, and they will overwhelm the last couple players. So looking at about over 210 points to 123, the Originals, they've been on the back foot, but Brody, we really need to start to see some time coming through on this P1 and P2 hill if they're coming back in this game.
We do indeed. There is an opportunity here for the Originals to do it. They currently have control over the middle hard point, but, you know, look at the players, the individual positioning at the moment. They have so much to do. Hawkeye wins the first crucial gunfight against Fusion, stops him from breaking rotation early on for all those P2 spawns, but that's a big one for Ku to win. Torres wins his over on the Eskies against Grad, and Los Pepes, they're in. Traudy, yet again, another kill for him. The Originals, they've got to stop this. They've got to get in the hard point. Effectively right now, Grad and Rafi able to combine for 2, but Traudy just playing with him. He's able to pick up 1. Now Torres in from behind. Torres in from behind. 2 crucial kills. Make it 3. Why the hell not? And Los Pepes flip the board. The Originals, I mean, they are in trouble here.
They are in trouble. If you get a fast push through, then there's a chance, but it's not looking likely whatsoever. Scrap time's going to go over, but Los Pepes, they are absolutely in control to potentially close this one out here. Fusion trying to defend the push off the old hill, only able to come away with 1, but that sets up an easy trade for Ku. Hockey now in towards the back. Need to find a couple of big kills, able to bring home 1, challenges for 2. Those were the kills you needed, but in the end, you still got too many Los Pepe members here with the close spawn. They might just be good for the last 10 seconds.
That may well be it, to be honest. Furious comes in, last couple of wave kills comes in, and, well, Grad, can you get in the hard point? No, you can't. Los Pepes, they've done it in map number 1. What a performance from them. The first set of rotations there, Austin, pretty close, I would describe it. But honestly, past that, Los Pepes, they just started to run away with it.
And the squad is just so good at hardpoint. I mean, like, we saw it from a lot of these players, understanding, like, how to hit these pinches, when to do it. Like, we saw that off the first hill. Like, Fusion came in from behind off of a pinch once we saw one of his teammates drop, and he just re-hits that same route, gets 2 kills, and that slows down the rotation drastically, especially when you're finding those kills, like, in the last 15 seconds of the hill. You're spawning out deep, you have someone hard anchoring in towards the back at P2, and as much as they do lose the setup, they're always towards the new hill first, at least for the majority of the time. So that is something that's pretty crucial about Moscow. If you're there first, Brody, when you're talking about hills like P2, P3, we know what happens. You're collecting the majority of the time. And they also had a couple of nice breaks from the front when we're talking about P3 as well. So that is a big game to come away with. And there's a reason that they are one of the best hardpoint teams right now in towards Elite here within Europe.
Yeah, I think it was like, 3 hills back-to-back there where we saw these guys, Los Pepes, they managed to chain together a P1, P2. There was P3, they gave it away. This is a second rotation, by the way. They gave it away to the Originals. And then what? P4, I think that was just so crucial where, you know, you've lost the last 25 seconds of scrap time,
yes.
right? That's what's happened there at the end of the Fountain hardpoint on the second rotations for the Originals. You know you're not getting any more. There's no point going for it. So you need to solely focus on making sure that you sort of solidify your foundations for the next rotation. They don't do it. They get broken straight away. And I think that is the moment that really, I think, nails home game number 1 where Los Pepes, they just started to run away with it. Great performance by them, Austin. I'm very impressed. And now I have some idea why before this, they were 5-1 in hardpoint.
That's right, 5-1 in hardpoint, and this is where things get tricky for the Originals because of their map pool, right? You have to kind of convert going in towards these next couple game modes, and it does feel like right now in hardpoint, like the squad is just so good at overwhelming you, and you touch on the fact that they're able to chain hills together, which is something that they do beautifully on Checkmate when we watch over them, which is one of their stronger maps. And when you're able to do that on maps like Moscow, which, you know, shouldn't be allowed, in a lot of cases you should be at least trading time when we're talking about the big money hills, and when that's not happening, that's when things just kind of get a little bit too out of control there for us. But we are going to take a look at the maps and see what else we have coming on up for us. I know Brody, he's looking at that last one, making sure we go the distance to a standoff, and I might be there with them. Would love to see Ian cast over some standoff. But what coming up next for us, Brody, will be an express here, and this is where we have to see, you know, both of these squads kind of show us the improvements for as far as search and destroy.
Yeah, for sure, right? And talking about search and destroy for these teams, just to give you guys the idea of their records right now. You've got the Originals, who are currently 2-4 in search and destroy across stage 4. Los Pepes 1-4. So, you know, I think if we were to kind of nail that down in a sentence, they're both terrible at S&D. And at the moment, anyway, it would seem, right? Maybe, again, that doesn't take into account who you played. Maybe you played the best teams at search and destroy in week number 1, of course. So these stats are always kind of skewed one way or another. But, you know, I would say this is a map that the Originals need to take. And just to give you guys an idea of the background of a team like the Originals, you've got Grad, Raffi, Furious, all players who, before they transitioned to Respawn during Black Ops 4, they were search and destroy specialists. They played search and destroy ladders on GB. It's all they did, basically. And for that reason, their search and destroy during the Black Ops 4 season and the subsequent Modern Warfare season was pretty good. It was really good. I think yeah, that's the best way I could possibly describe it, right, Austin? So I think they do need to win this versus Los Pepes, because that kind of experience, that skill in search and destroy, it never goes away. And that makes search and destroy in a series such as this one integral for them.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that you bring that up, because it feels like there's been a lot of S&D players that have kind of been brought in towards the scene. Even when we're looking at pro play, when you're looking at like your Illies and things like this, who were just known for being like S&D specialists. And then like coming in towards the year, it feels like maybe like things slightly drop off because you're putting more focus in towards the respawns, because you're playing 3 respawns in a best of 5 compared to just 2 S&D games. And I'm almost like kind of curious to bring this conversation up with you, Brody. It's like, do you think it like slowly drops off as you get more and more invested in towards kind of getting in towards what is 4v4, playing these respawns, practicing and putting more time into understanding and learning the macro of the game? Like, does that just take like a bit of a drop off in towards your S&Ds, or like you said, do you feel like it's just always there? It's just a matter of, are you hot or cold almost?
I don't know. I feel like there is an element to it, right? Where if you're not grinding search and destroy every day, every hour of every day, I absolutely think that, your search and destroy is going to get somewhat worse, right? But then obviously there's also sort of this other element of it where it's like, as time goes on, as you put in more hours into Call of Duty generally every day, you're getting better and better at it day in, day out. Surely your search and destroy is also going to get better, right? But yeah, I think in terms of timeshare and such, as you kind of do put more time into the respawns overall, definitely I think, search and destroy is going to be less of a focus there. Has that happened to the Originals? I don't know. We shall find out.
So far, that's going to be it feels like it has. That's been one of the factors, at least as of late. But I don't know. I think it's interesting because I feel like Illy's someone who struggled a little bit in towards search and destroy, and he was just known for like 12 years old. He was winning like S&D tournaments from way back when. So, interesting conversation overall. But this is where you really need to pull out the win, especially when you're only really relying on your game 3s. I think the fact that you have the records that you do right now when you're the Originals at like 2-4 and 3-4 for your hardpoint and your search and destroy, but you're 4-0 in control. Like, that shows that they have a lot of resilience, right? When they're getting towards like these game 3s and they're dropping maybe the first couple of maps, they're still able to bring things back. And it's always great to rely on that third game mode, no matter what Call of Duty you're in, because it has that ability to kind of shift the momentum over, where it's like, okay, we just took a control, now let's shift over towards the hardpoint, carry all that slaying power that we were maybe just implementing in towards that matchup, and see if we can carry it on through. That is really one of the big factors here, but it's never a situation that you want to be in. You kind of have to keep re-hitting the narrative that both of these squads are 2-2. They want to hold the head-to-head over each other, and this is also going to give you that 3-2 advantage going in towards your next matchup, where you are looking to clinch a playoff spot. So there is so very much on the line, and all that preparation over the last week, and maybe even VOD reviewing to figure out how both these squads are playing in Search and Destroy, is certainly going to come into play heading in towards the Express.
Yeah, I will say one thing as well. I think for the overall context of this game, and this isn't a shot at either Los Pepes or the Originals, even though I guarantee this will probably be clipped onto the Twitter sphere and I will get dragged into hell for it. I don't think this match will come to prove anything to do with sort of the top 2 in Elite, right? I mean, given the competition we have here in both Europe and North America, you're looking at teams like August, you're looking at teams like Elevate, who are currently sitting at the top, and obviously that doesn't discount anybody else from making a run. But I think, this match will probably prove more useful down the line to the winner of this one to decide maybe who doesn't go to relegation, for example, if that conversation arises, because obviously, you look at the teams currently down there and you're asking questions like, well, are Amelia Strays in this newly formed Hot Tub Meta roster, which, by the way, is a beautiful name. It is a name. Are they going to have a resurgence here in week number 2? There are just so many questions, and for this match overall, I think, given the teams right now, early on, both 2-2, this match, I think, will be crucial to decide whether or not either of these two teams for that matter, do avoid relegation at the end of the round robin stage. Of course, they might not avoid it later on because they're still going to make playoffs to avoid relegation on the whole. But still, getting past step 1, that's the I think that's the positive here that you want to take away at the end of week number 2.
Absolutely. And interesting statistics coming in here for us. For Los Pepes, they have played this map twice. They are 1-1. So having a little bit of experience on it, certainly great. On the other hand, the Originals, they've played this map 3 times, Brody, and they have not collected a win as of yet. So things have not been great on Express. And yeah, if you can't tell by my candor, this is not maybe looking like the best for the Originals, but there was a reason that this map came in towards the rotation. And I mean, at the same time, maybe they do have something that they do want to kind of go with that might be a little bit different. I feel like, for as far as my view on Express, it is a lot of just about hard countering and kind of just setting the majority of your resources on defense to one side of the map or the other and playing for retakes towards B while heavily stacking A. That kind of just seems to be the meta at the moment for as far as, you know, what is the best tactical advantage. And retaking B with a lot of open lanes and a lot of, you know, exits to kind of, or entries rather, to kind of get into, it does allow you to play for the retakes just a tad bit easier overall. So this is going to be a tough one, just looking at 0-3. I mean, you have to imagine that's in the back of the mind here of the Originals here, and you really have to come in here somehow with a clear mindset and, you know, understanding of how you want to play this map. Again, making sure you do not go 0-2 down. Even if you are 4-0 in control, it is going to be pretty difficult to kind of find a reverse sweep against a squad that is really hot in the hard point. So this is looking like a pretty big map if they're going to come away with the series here for us, Brody.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Search and Destroy is going to decide this series. I do think we're going to go to a Game 5. We absolutely are going to a Game 5. You know, I said this before we came on the broadcast. Yeah, I'm speaking into existence. You know, I really want to see a stand-up Search and Destroy because we didn't get to see it in week number 1. Obviously, we kind of expected this to happen. Obviously, it kind of got thrown towards the teams before we got into week number 1 where, hey, you guys are playing stand-up Search and Destroy, by the way.
Right.
And, you know, I will say, a lot of teams were acting really surprised that stand-off. I was like, guys, come on now. You knew you were going to play standoff as soon as it came into Call of Duty. Come on now. And anyway, a lot of teams, I think, were just for week number 1, were like, we're not going to play it just because obviously we don't have enough practice on it. And that's kind of fair enough, you know, mutually agreeing. Hey, look, we'll keep standoff reserved for week number 2. We're in week number 2 now, guys, so it's standoff central time. And we will be having a standoff in game number 5. You know, as I said before the broadcast, there's been a lot of disappointments in my life so far. Once I learned that Santa Claus wasn't real, once I learned that the Tooth Fairy wasn't real, and yeah, that was sad. That one was really sad. I was at the stage of knocking teeth out at that point just to try and get some extra money going. And then obviously now we've got stand-up Search and Destroy. I don't want another disappointment, Austin. Okay, I don't. I want to see a stand-up Search and Destroy today. If we don't, there will be another disappointment. The Europeans, the Americans, one of you guys is going to have to give me a stand-up S&D. That's all I ask for. Please.
I think the good news is that, you know, we got lots of series today and tomorrow, so like our chances are really high for getting it there, but I can't promise that we're going to get one here, Brody, but I'm certainly on board with you, and I'm hoping that we do go the distance. Now, if we do, I think this map is just the pivotal reason why we need it, because the way I'm looking at this series at the moment is like, okay, you're 1-0 up right now. The hard point's too good for Los Pepes. They're likely going to take the 4th map as well if we end up getting there. So this is just, to me, it's like you need to find this map. You need to find the control. You've been great in the control. I think you can heavily rely on that. And then that's maybe our window to get towards the standout. So you can see it. We're already writing out the script at the moment here, Brody, for everything that needs to happen. Now it's just about it all actually falling in line and seeing it come together for us so that we can, in fact, get ourselves in towards that map 5. But overall, ladies and gents, just waiting for the players to kind of ready up before we get in towards this game. I think that might be the case now for us, Brody, as Express has been waiting for us, and we'll finally get in and see if there has been any additional work done for this Originals lineup. 0-3 on this map mode combination, but a chance to come away with a big one and tie us up.
Yeah, this is huge, like we say, for the Originals. Of course, I mean, in terms of their control, 4-0, it's kind of expected for them to win that short of something special from Los Pepes. So, this map will be important to both rosters. It could well be the Search and Destroys that decide this series. And getting right in the swing of things here with Los Pepes on the offense, we seem to be wanting to go to A. Torres might have just spotted out Grad over towards the mid-map. Furious over here, though, has spotted out Trawdy, is dead to rights. Can he get away? Yes, he will.
Oh, very well done. So getting it with your life, and now you found a second. Taurus is down. Grad's going to come in from behind and see if you can maybe watch over. Buzzer will fall too, and now Fusion, well, he's left alone in a 1 versus 4. Maybe you can get a couple of kills, but with a 74U still hanging out in and around the catwalk, you're just really hoping that someone just kind of lines up in towards your sights, and then I think there has now been a spot out on towards Fusion, so he's just going to go for some long-range shots, but the collapse will come through, and I'm sure eventually he will meet his demise as he stalls a little bit longer.
All right, Fusion, you win this 1 versus 4, I'll buy you a cookie. That's what's on the line here.
For 1 versus 4?
Just one, dude. what am I made of money? Come on, man. Like,
Dude, if we're playing league play
cookie.
and you're like, hey, you won before this, Austin? I'm gonna get you a cookie. I'm like, a cookie?
No,
I'm gonna
Austin,
throw that
dude,
round
come
away.
on. For you, it would be 2 cookies. Right?
Oh,
it's not 1
2,
cookie at that
okay.
point. It's 2
You know
for
what?
you, okay?
I feel so valued now.
That's more because of the fact that 1v4 is for you even more rare. I think
Wow.
that would be, yeah, sorry, dude. I apologize. That was too spicy for me. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's see how it is, Brody. Either way, the Originals, they find their first round. 2-0 start here for Hockey, as well as Furious Claws. Nice little start towards the very first initial round, but now we'll switch things up and see if they can maybe carry that in towards their offense, and they are coming pretty aggressively over towards this A site. We are going to be met with a couple players, though, for Las Pepes to try and shut this down. As we'll see Furious Claws lead the charge, just clearing out bottom control. Not going to find anything, but you have Fusion up top, and it's actually going to be a nice little tight setup they have with the top control, but they have not been able to work for any kills just yet. Everyone just playing tight and close. Finally, Taurus able to open up there with that first kill.
Fusion knows Hawkey's around here. Or maybe doesn't know it's Hawkey, but knows somebody's taken some shots down low. Fusion taking some preemptive shots. Now, I think the Originals are not aware of the fact that there's more than one player up here in control. They might just think that it's just the one. So depending on what happens with Fusion here, Troy could definitely cause some damage to this offensive line by the Originals. They're just causing problems at the moment. Los Pepes here, those 2 players in control. The Originals just cannot get past them.
Oh, they cannot, and they're going to have to make something happen soon. Grad! Oh, man, does he find a double up? That's what needed to happen. The Originals in a 2 versus 2. Hockey and Grad, both sub players, and now Ku was dropped on top of it. So that massive advantage for Los Pepes now comes down to a 1 versus 1. Only got about 10 seconds left on this clock, and this bomb still has to be planted. Abazo, is he going to hear the bomb? I think he might have heard it being picked up, but he's going to hold on, wait for the pre-aim. Grad's going to get the bomb down in time, and now it looks to slip away.
Ah, it's such a horrible 50-50 for Abuser there. Grad's going to jump up into control. Abuser might have just heard that jump up. I think he has. Jumps up himself. Grad's heard it. The shots go in. Abuser's not going to finish that kill. Going to go for a Ruben round with the Diamati. Grad's just sitting up in this corner. The Diamati plays not enough. Grad wins the 1v1.
Grad with the plays. I mean, right here we'll see it. As we'll see that first kill right there. Beautiful. Make sure Hockey doesn't die, but it's this kill. This opens up the site. You can see a sliver of HP in that health bar, but Grad finds those 2 kills and then gets the third with the 1v1 clutch up here, putting himself actually 3-0 with the plant, working towards maybe an early set of streaks. But the Originals coming out here hot for us. They're 0-3, Brody, but looking pretty solid so far with the 2-0 start.
Grad's having a good start of this game. 3-0 for him. Looks for that first blood art, turns away at the wrong time, and of course gets double teamed there. Toro's going to take him out, so I kind of cursed him there in the round. I'm sorry, Brad. This quickly does fall to a 2 versus 2 though, and look at the swiftness of which Troy is getting this bomb down. He should be able to get down and get away in time. He will. Hawkey not going to take those shots just yet. Wants to make sure. Okay, look, there was caution, and then he kind of just threw it to the wind to try and get that kill. It does come down to 1 versus 1 now between Furious and Troy. I believe they've spotted each other out.
They have, but Ku, he had to go and get a bomb check there. So Furious Claws, I love the way he plays that. And, well, even just lets him know on top of it all. So waits, the patience will be there. Ku has to kind of check the bomb, and Furious Claws with the shots will put him on 3 in a row. Locks down that defuse, and the Originals 0-3. I know, you might confuse their overall map mode combination record with what we're seeing on the screen, but Brody, they are just taking over at the moment here on Express.
Something's going right. I'll tell you that much. I do think a lot of it is, you know, just situational. Comes down to 1v1s and 2 versus 2s at the moment here early on in the search and destroy. Nothing really crazy or bold is coming out strategy-wise from these 2 teams at this moment in time. Don't know if maybe Los Pepes have anything in the strat bank. They might want to use it because at the moment they're 3-0 down. We'll see if they're able to pull anything out here, as now we go into yet another offensive round for the Originals. They have gone all in on B. Los Pepes, they haven't. Quite that simple, really. They've got no presence over towards B. The Originals, they don't realize it just yet, but they effectively have a free plant here, Austin.
They sure do. And, well, they'll find the first kill. Grad on the openings. How good has he been? Raffi right behind him. Finds a second. Ku and Fusion forced to try and clutch up in the 2 versus 4. Feel like one of these rounds would maybe allow you to kind of swing that momentum into your favor here. But going 4-0 up could just be everything you need for the Originals to come away with a dub here in the map number 2. Grad with the bomb, though, does end up dropping. They overcommit for Fusion. He comes away with 1, and he's still playing his life.
Oh, Fusion. He almost got away. It was almost. He was trying to get away in the train. Take a train off to Scotland or something, but you couldn't do it there. And the Originals. Yet again, Austin. Everything is just falling in place for them.
Sure is. I mean, it's the opening kills. It's the ability to kind of figure out where these players are playing, and then they collapse at the same time so that they're playing for the trades. Like, it is a lot that is just working out for them. And I mean, it certainly helps when you got a Furious Claus who's 6-1. He's actually fairly close towards streaks. He did pick up that defuse there in that round. He clutched up. So you can keep this going. Maybe get yourself a set of streaks. Might not even be needed at this point, though. 4-0 up. Fusion finally opens up with the first kill, but Grad with the trade. Coup in the end will be there to make sure the numbers advantage goes the way of Las Pepes, as it's now going to have to be Rafi clutching up a 1 versus 3.
Ah, trying to make it happen. Los Pepes, they won a round, Austin. Let's go. We're happy here. Los Pepes are on the board. They'll be happy too. We'll see it from their perspective here as they kind of barrel towards the site. Kind of just a blind rush for both of these teams towards the site. Again, there's not really much strategy coming out from these teams at the moment. I have to say, it's not all that surprising given just how Express Search and Destroy plays here on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It is very much just choosing a bomb site to hit and rushing at it, strength in numbers kind of play. And we're going to see that once again here as Los Pepes and the Originals going to be passing like 2 ships in a very big ocean in the night. The Originals are going to be targeting that B site. There is one player who could put a stop to it. That's going to be Torres close by.
Aki does spot up Taurus inside a ticket booth, but will be overwhelmed. Nice little peek from the middle of the map. Leza gets the kill. Now the Originals kind of just forced in the back of their spawn, down low in B as well. They're just absolutely being pinned in. Furious Claus needs a big win. If you can find Fusion, that's going to relieve a lot of the pressure in towards the back. But right now you're worried about so many different angles. I don't know how you get this bomb down and then how you even play for a post plant. But we're getting down to about 40 seconds left, and a decision is going to have to be made very soon here for the Originals.
The Originals with the man disadvantage here. Going to get that bomb down. The decision has been made. Now, how do they handle this post-plant positioning? A man down, you don't have all the areas covered. So you're going to have to do something creative here. Looking over on the minimap, Rafi going to get involved in a gunfight with Abuser. Oh, he decides to switch weapons at the complete wrong time. Rafi has an opportunity here to put the numbers in his favor. He can't do it. But now Grad, with another opportunity, gets one, flies through the window, tries to get the second. It doesn't happen. And now it's just Furious. A 1 versus 2. They know where he is as well. That slide definitely solidifies that information. Torres on the defuse. Furious, could put a stop to it. Does he have the time? No, he doesn't. The perfect positioning coming out there from Torres. And Los Pepes, they get another round on the board by the skin of their teeth.
Oh, that was close. Look at this right here. I mean, I think Torres stretched this just about as far as he could to make sure that there was no angle to come on in. But when I saw that first kill come through on towards Q, I was thinking there was certainly a chance. And if he was closer to the bomb, maybe that would have actually happened, but not the case. And now it's actually Los Pepes here for us, Brody, who have come away with 2 rounds in a row, looking a lot more solid. They're now coming up with a lot of these first initial kills, creating the man advantages. That's happened in the last 2 rounds, and the Originals need to kind of stop this bleeding, and it looks like they're not going to slow down on the aggression. You can already see it here from player 6, Furious Claus. He's already in the spawn 15 seconds in.
Well, Furious has got that kill against Abuser. That's certainly going to help them out in this situation. He could well prove integral later on to this retake. Fusion puts the shots in. Traudy's going to finish up with the Semtech. Torquay looking to survive. He won't. And what a turning of the tables this has been here for Los Pepes. Able to bring this down to a 2 versus 2. And now the Originals trying to play whack-a-mole. Search every single corner you can for those pesky Los Pepes players. Furious will get 1. Fusion gets a little bit overzealous, and now it's just Torres 1 versus 2. Rafi comes up, pops up. Torres is dead, just like that.
Oh, man, what a round, and a nice retake. A lot of patience coming through there. I mean, there's a lot of players that would honestly just keep go searching kind of in and around all these corners in the middle of the tracks there, but Claus just plays it just ever so patient, waits inside the train. Gunfight comes to him, he cleans it up, and And we see Rafi also clean one up top to make sure there was no chance to play the clock there. Clutch up the 1 versus 2. So, Originals back in control. They lost a couple rounds, but now they're just one away from putting this one out and tying the series up. It's going to have to be a big one, though. Las Pepes are certainly showing a bit of resistance as it's going to be an offensive round for the Originals.
Just one round away of the Originals here. Los Pepes and Search and Destroy certainly look, well, much less assured than they did in the hardpoint. We're starting to see a little bit why now. They are currently 1-4 here in this game mode across stage 4 thus far. Can they pull it back from the brink, though? No control over A's towards the moment. The Originals have effectively full control over the site. Los Pepes, though, see it on the minimap. They want to employ a pincer movement. It's going to be Trolley and Fusion on the flank.
They spotted him right on top of the tracks there. Rafi might be able to come in from behind. This could be a big play for him, and it is. He finds the first one, but is he ready for a second? He's not. Ku drops down on him like Batman, gets the trade. 3 versus 3. Las Pepes need the round to keep it going, and Grad's going to make it that much more difficult. Finds Ku. Furious Claws will find one. Everyone wins their individual gunfights, and the Originals might have been 0-3 on Express. Well, they come to life for us in the map number 2 in this series, and they're going to be able to tie things up with a 6-2 closeout here on map 2.
What I'll tell you, Austin, what I'll tell you. Search and Destroy specialist, this Originals roster, and proving it there with what I describe as an indomitable performance in map number 2. Pretty certainly a confident performance at that. Los Pepes never really looked like they were in it. From a 4-0 start from this roster, from this Originals team, to the finishing, I guess, of the game with those last 2 rounds. A really good performance all around, and overall, I'd say, you know, in Search and Destroy particularly, I think all of that did come down to sort of just micro plays, right? Again, I don't think we did see much of a strategy there from either team in Search and Destroy. We didn't see anything crazy. It was literally, right, let's just send 4 players towards a bomb site. We'll see how it worked out, and unfortunately for Los Pepes, they just lost 75% of those fights.
They did lose a lot of them, and there's a lot of these opening engagements that were just going the way here for them. And I mean, when you're just creating the main advantages on a map like Express, where you can just take control of the site with numbers and play off trades, then it'd be pretty difficult to make anything happen overall. And it was that 4-0 lead that was built up there, where there was a couple of close rounds, right? Like we saw one of those 1v1s that ends up going the way of Las Pepes there when Grad was able to clutch it up. Like maybe this is a little bit of a different map, but overall that was not the case. It was just carrying all that momentum through 4 rounds and then bringing things back here in towards what was the round number 7. This patient play right here, Furious Claws, he was playing in and around that train, and that was actually just such a nice play to be able to kind of pay off there in the last 20 seconds. And it was those factors that end up playing the difference there for us, Brody. And like you said, tied all up. This is what we wanted to see. It feels like they needed to close out this map number 2 because now they're going in towards one of their strongest game modes, but it is on a checkmate, and I don't believe they've actually played a checkmate yet. They've only been primarily playing on towards the raids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not all that concerned about this Originals roster on Checkmate. Quite clearly, they are pretty good at control. 4-0 at it so far here in stage number 4. Again, I know we've got a pretty small control group overall for control. 4-0, they've only played 4 maps so far. Of course, we'll see whether or not they can keep their flawless record against this Los Pepes roster. Although, I do think it says quite a lot here that they've managed to win every single control, even facing up against such rosters such as Mavericks, Elevate, or Amelia Strays. So this Originals roster, they seem to know what they're doing in Checkmate control. I'm very excited to see how they get on here in this map. To me, at least, though, if we're talking about players here, Austin, I'm kind of looking towards Hawkeye and Grad. I think Checkmate overall has transitioned quite significantly from an AR-dominated map to an SMG one over the course of the game. I think the ARs now kind of know how to hold sightlines and such like that. So don't be surprised here if Hawkeye and Grad are just running amok and Los Pepes don't have to.
That's true. It's actually really funny because I think I remember talking to I hold Shift about that. I'm like, listen, like this map's actually transitioned into where it's just a lot of running around and the subs just getting underneath the plane, being annoying, and really just going and playing hide and seek. Like that is a lot of what this map is, especially in control, and making it difficult for the opponents to find you. But either way, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Map number 3, we're all tied up. Big swing one here. Flawless through the controls has been the Originals. We'll see if they can keep that going on towards Checkmate, as they've only played raids thus far in towards Elite. But it's going to be a couple of opening kills that go the way of the Originals. Ku's looking for a response, and now this might just open up the B zone so they can stop the clock.
It's going to be Traudy on there for the moment. Going to transfer over towards A, though. Maybe to try and help out, make sure you get plane control. We've spoken at length about how important plane control is here on Checkmate Control. Well, Traudy's going to be proving that at the moment, effectively zoning the originals into the back. And actually, Traudy just decides to fly on out, pick up 2, reduces this down to an hour 1 versus 1 on the point between Fusion and Grad. Fusion takes those first shots in. That's going to keep Grad away for the moment. May guarantee a second tick here, as you can see those Los Pepes players barreling towards the zone, and it's all going to come to a head with a fight. Fusion able to pick up 1. Abuser picks up the second. There is just 1 player who could better stop this. It's Furious. He's able to pick up 1, but Traudy closes out the control zone with 2. Los Pepes able to win those fights early on, and the originals now in a spot of bother here because Los Pepes have successfully transferred themselves over towards B.
Oh, they absolutely have. I mean, this is a really clean control round offensively so far. Ku needs to keep his life, however, and is unable to do so. Still has a couple teammates posted up in the plane, so map control still looking overall pretty decent, and now Torres comes up with a big double. Furious Claws just trying to hold on towards the defense and actually doubles up himself, so this is going to slow things down a little bit, give his teammates time to come in now with the reinforcements.
Still an opportunity here for Los Pepes to close up this point early on. Oh, lovely shot punch coming in from Abuser. Los Pepes and the originals currently just trading out kills. Now finally regaining control. They've got 2 players on the point, and for Los Pepes, you have to go now. That final kill may well have closed the door here on this first round, and it will. There you go, Los Pepes able to take round number 1, and that felt like one of the fastest transitions we've actually seen from a team transferring from A to B pretty much straight away. It was instant.
Yeah, I mean, that was beautiful. Like, you can't ask for a better offensive round on Checkmate Control, and it's the opening round out of all of them that ends up coming through here for us there. And it comes back to, I think, like, some of that patient play where it's like we don't need to overforce on the offense to try and hold the pre-aim, collect a couple of kills, and then slowly but surely move up on towards the map, which is what they do beautifully. They hold on towards that setup, and they come away with, an offensive round. And this now puts the pressure on the originals to do the exact same as they try out their first offensive round.
Indeed, we'll see now whether or not originals can show their offensive prowess. They've just lost a defensive round on Checkmate Control, which of course you and I, Austin, will know is absolutely not normal. So something might be going wrong here early on in the control for the originals. We'll see how quickly they're able to rectify it. Right away, they seem to be pushing for a B hit. Abuser, huge 2-piece though to put a stop to it.
Oh man, 3 in a row now. Gonna start picking them off spawn. You haven't really made any progress on towards the zones, and the 2 players that were closest towards A end up dropping. So you have to reevaluate how you're going to retake the middle of the map now. Abusa able to come away with another one, 4 straight, 8 and 4 with this AR, just being ever annoying, bouncing between wing to wing, controlling the middle of the plane. Furious Claws, you can see him waiting to make this move, but his teammates are coming off spawn, so now finally they're going to do it, but they only have 30 seconds left to try and get on a zone and cap.
Abuser, hello. 25 seconds on the clock, and Abuser really trying to shut the door here on this defensive round. The originals, they can't even touch base, really. They can't touch first base here in this game of control. Cannot get out of their spawn. You need to find something now. Next 10 seconds, or this round is done. Hawkey, last chance saloon. The pushing coming in here from Fusion. Just kept on applying that pressure. Los Pepes, they're doing pretty well here, Austin, to close out that round, and I believe Abuser will close out that round also with streaks.
Listen, I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say they're playing perfect right now. Like, they did not give over any ticks. They played that first offensive round beautifully where they were able to capture A. They made a swift transition over towards B and capped that zone as well. I don't even think they dropped, below a minute 50 on towards the timer in that first offensive round. They are playing some perfect control at the moment, and now it's just a matter of closing this out. And I have to kind of wonder at the moment too, you know what I mean? Abusa having streaks, like this could be an opportunity to use them in towards this round, close things out here, get a hot 3-0 against a team that has not lost the control so far. And we'll see if they do in fact do it, but the offensive push going to come right over toward B, just like they did in that first round.
Lost that base. Gonna go straight towards B. Abuser. Oh no. Okay. Almost there. Grad is going to take him down, but while all this is going on, Fusion will get that first tick, or will he? Okay, yeah, he definitely will now with that kill against Grad. That was pretty good. Los Pepes making progress on B. Unfortunately for them, they're not actually able to get any map control as Furious, Hawkeye, and Rafi combine for 3. They will send Los Pepes back to square one. My big concern at the moment here, Austin, if Los Pepes wanted to at the moment, they could rain down fire one of those streaks and open up a lane.
They sure could. Maybe finding a couple of kills before doing so could be the play. Torres will end up dropping. Fusion now finds some favor right in the plane, but Abuse unable to really find an angle to take some clean shots. Will be cleaned up very easily. And now Torres, the furthest one pushed forward, forced to come up with a couple of kills here alongside Fusion now, who's with him in the middle of the plane, but they have to clean up a lot of these players who could just be lurking in from behind. Grad coming off the spawn will get tagged, but will keep his life as his teammates flood over towards this A zone. They're trying to play some defense, but Fusion's pinch, it needs to pay off here, and it will be shut down. The Originals have played some pretty strong defense so far, and now they just need to make sure they lock down the last 26 seconds here and clear everything off of it.
Last chance here for Los Pepes to do something. Trawley is able to pick up one, almost gets that second against Grad, but won't get away with it this time. Fusion inside the plane. Could be crucial to the power positioning for Los Pepes if he could cause some more damage there. He knows that Grad's in the mid. Look at the spidey senses on this guy, absolutely tingling. Fusion will walk away with a kill, and now Los Pepes, they've stopped the clock. Can they get it done? It's just John Abuser inside the point. Unfortunately, he will fall. Torres can't finish his boot towards the back of the plane. Doesn't really have time to chuckle it anyway, so not going to happen there. The Originals not done yet here in this control, Austin.
Not done yet. The streaks, though, still in play. I don't think they were invested. Not sure about any pings. However, coming in towards this, it was the break. That was the differential, right? We saw a couple of the breaks that were coming up and towards the first couple of rounds that were just clean feeds and, you know, clean wipes throughout the board there for Los Pepes. And that was obviously just giving them so much map control to play off of and how they were able to come away with a lot of those early ticks. This time around, that break goes the way of the Originals. But they're forced to get something going on the offense. Last offense, they did not get a single tick here, Brody, and that clearly has to change if we're going to round 5.
Does indeed. Needs to be some tick progression here from the Originals. You don't want to win this one by lives, you need to win this one by ticks, and you've also got to be kind of careful about the map control that you've got, because Los Pepes, they decided to zone the map pretty well. You've sent Trawley and Torres all the way up while using the streaks to try and clear A. Abuser will do a pretty good job of it. Trawley comes through into NASA, picks up Hawkeye and sends him into space. And now Los Pepes here looking to zone the map. They do it pretty well. And the Originals, well, you might want to go to the Parks and Rec department because your zoning isn't that great at the moment.
Oh, you got so much map control to regain. Abuser does have that artillery, but invested the cruise missile, only brought home a single kill. However, still alive on the A zone. Will eventually be cleaned up there. Hockey almost there for a double. Could have played the factor and maybe could have actually got some progress going on towards the second tick for A. Not the case. Furious Claws now gets in towards the feed, finds a couple of kills, but Grad is shut down and can't do anything right behind him. Still struggling to get towards a zone with the numbers, and now Rafi's just got to kind of play his life at the moment. They are going to stop it, but here comes the streaks, Brody, and it's going to be a big double with that artillery. That will slow things down, and now only 25 seconds left.
Oh man, Abuser, he's those streaks are pretty deadly. That's what I'll say about Abuser right now. The Originals just can't help themselves. They can't get out of spawn, and well, you need kind of a hero play at this point to make something happen. They might have one. Rafi slips the net, but Trawley with the denial. Los Pepes sent the Originals back to blue. They can't get out. They might have found an opportunity, but they need to get on the point now. They can't do it. Los Pepes, they're able to win the game. Abuser, he had a map to Pain Town, sent the Originals all the way there and back. That was a disgusting game of control from him.
It sure was. I mean, had just an insane KD. I think it was like 23, 24, and 10, somewhere around there overall, and he actually found some value with the streaks, which is something that we don't say too often on Checkmate. It feels like they're more or less used for pings and for information because of the way the ceiling works on that map. So hard to kind of weave the streaks in, but it was able to find value with both of them. That artillery, though, really sealed the deal. I mean, you find that two-piece, and collectively a third kill came along with it from one of his teammates, and that kind of stops the push there. You're in desperation mode. You're just trying to flood out of your spawn, and you can no longer take your time working in and around those corners to make your way in towards any of those control zones. Again, with the numbers, that was the biggest biggest factor. They may have touched it a couple times, but they were never really in a position to fully cap it, and really never forced Los Pepes to kind of play for any big retakes. So that is a massive game that goes their way, and that's also the Originals' very first loss on Control. They have only played Raid, and I mean, Los Pepes are like, all right, well, you're 4-0 in Raid. Let's see how you do on Checkmate, and clearly they're pretty happy with the result.
Yeah, Los Pepes, that is a huge map win for them, right? We talk about sort of the map set analysis before we got into this one, talk about sort of, you know, the fact that, in Control, they're 4-0 here, the Originals. That's sort of already a win, right? It's a win right out the gate here. Hardpoint, that is a win for Los Pepes, so it is going to come down to the search and destroy. That was our analysis on the map set coming to this series. That has, I think, turned everything on its head, because now Los Pepes, they've won a map which, quite frankly, according to the stats at least, they should have done, and they did it pretty convincingly. Now they go into a hard point where they are now 6-1 after their map number 1 victory, Austin. I'd be feeling pretty confident if I was Los Pepes. I'd be like, yeah, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. If I had a chair that went back, I'd be laying down on it at the moment thinking, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good at the series.
I'm with you. I mean, the fact that you bounce back after, losing an Express S&D that wasn't very close, and you come away with, again, a win where you give them the very first loss in this game. I agree with you. I think you're feeling, on top of the world right now coming in towards this one, especially knowing that hard points have just been always in your favor. And, I mean, this is going to have to be a lot coming through here for the side of the Originals, because they've only beaten the bottom teams right now in towards the Elite. They have not really been able to take out any of these top teams or middle of the pack teams that are currently tied 2-2. So we came in saying, like, this is going to be a big test for them. Do they have what it takes to be able to actually contest some of these squads that are going to be going in towards that playoff bracket? At the moment, we've seen some hot, seen some cold, just a matter of actually being able to kind of whip this out in towards the Garrison hardpoint, where it already feels like Los Pepes subs have been taking over here for us, Brody, and that is going to be something that you have to shut down going in towards a Garrison that is very close quarters, very easy to start to snowball and chain hills together, which is something that they love to do. We saw them just do it on Moscow of all maps.
Yeah, I don't know, Los Pepes at the moment. I think it's just crazy, isn't it, really? Looking at this Los Pepes roster, and I know this is kind of like, Brady, you're being so naive right now, because, this Los Pepes roster, it's just such an unlikely team to succeed, right? You've got players coming, you've got what is effectively a multinational team, so you've got Fusion and Torres, who have rarely stepped foot outside Spanish national teams. So, you talk about the teams that they played on this season, right? with Fusion playing with Clash, and Torres playing with Pushing Gaming, of course, last season, where fortunately it didn't go so well. They placed 7th, but still, these guys, they haven't really stepped foot out of their region, and this is the first time they've been able to do it. Abuser, obviously, in the same boat with Obtained Black. Traudy in the same boat with Ravens Esports Club, and you're looking at this team that's come together from obscurity, and they're looking pretty good against what I would describe as an established roster. The Originals, by the way, one of the only teams this season to have not made many roster changes at all. Like, they've still got their core 3 from the very beginning of the season in Hawkeye, Grad, and Rafi, even without Wardy on the roster, even with Furious now. They still have that core 3. So to come up against a team and perform this well at the moment, Los Pepes, I'd be very content with where I'm at in terms of the overall standings of things.
I will say, though, with the way that this series has gone, it is a little bit interesting where we saw the S&D go over. It was, 0-3 overall for the Originals. They win that map. They're 4-0 in towards Control, and they lose the Control, and they lose their first map. So where I'm going with this is the fact that they are 0-1 on Garrison here for us, Brody, and maybe they're going to do the exact same thing that we saw on the Express, which is just pull the rabbit out of the hat, come out here absolutely blazing, and just take it to them, and maybe get us towards that standoff search and destroy that we've been hyping up this entire way through. Either way, it's going to have to happen, or it's going to be Los Pepes with a nice 3-1 victory. Looks like the players were not ready to go here for us as I'm setting this up, Brody, but overall, we'll get back in there very shortly, and it's just a matter of being able to come out here with a dub, see if you can kind of clean up these hardpoint rotations and actually lock down the setups and do not allow them to chain hills. I think this is really the biggest thing to emphasize coming in towards this hardpoint here on Garrison.
Yeah, for sure. Right? I mean, you talk about sort of Garrison hardpoint on the whole. It is a hardpoint map that can get away from you very quickly. There are some seriously punishing rotations here. I think probably the most punishing one we have here is P2 to P3, where effectively for that last 20 seconds, if you push for that last 20 seconds, if you go for scrap time, and you know you shouldn't be doing it, and you lose the spawns for P3, you're going to mess yourselves up. I know teams at this level are more likely than not going to do that. You would hope anyway, right? I mean, teams still make mistakes even at this level of Elite. We've seen it before. But yeah, it is a very punishing map in terms of hardpoint overall. Then again, I think hardpoint in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is actually pretty punishing, generally speaking, in terms of getting those rotations down and making sure you've got everything right in terms of control and spawns and such, especially when you compare it to what last season was like, right, where of course it was 5 versus 5. The spawns were somewhat less solid. I think it was a different kind of spawns system last year, if I remember correctly.
Definitely
right
was.
Yeah, so this season, I think strategy is much more rewarded on the whole, and that's where you're gonna be punished if you mess up. Do one mistake, guys, and that's it. You're done. Especially when you're 2-1 down. So don't do it.
Yeah, no mistakes. You cannot afford to make any here. I mean, like I said, like kind of coming in towards that one, like you got to come out here and you got to bring it to your opponents. Like having these hot starts and being able to just kind of get on that hard point first, win that first rotation, like that alone, I think gets you into a bit of a rhythm and a bit of a groove, and you can kind of just carry that through the rest of the map to get us towards the standoff S&D. I mean, that has to be the play here. It's not easy coming in towards a matchup knowing that you have to win this map and you're playing up against, one of the best hardpoint teams currently in Elite here for the European scene, and I mean that could be pretty discouraging, I guess, at the same time, but you have to put that aside. You have to come out here and just do what you're doing in your scrims, do what you're doing in towards all that practice and prep and time. We'll see if it ends up coming together, ladies and gentlemen, as I believe we are now good to go this time around. No one's ended the game, no one is timed out, and we'll see if the Originals can find themselves a hard point win and get us to the map 5.
Hey, well, look, who knows what's going to happen here? Oh, Trotty! What? Oh, God, that is disgusting. Trotty right out the gate picks up 2 kills. That's an acute angle. That's all I'll say about that one. Los Pepe is able to come out the gate swinging.
Well, I was hoping it's going to go the other way for us, Brody, but the subs, I highlighted them, and they can be disgusting. You're seeing why. Fusion and Coup already thinking about this rotation with 20 seconds left on P1, which all that time is going to them. Coup able to play that beautifully. Nice little bait and switch. Doesn't even cost him his life. And in towards the back now. Just about dealing with Rafi here, who's going to be isolated. He's got no real support coming with him. And now it's going to be a beautiful transition. You don't have all the numbers here, but there's still a chance for the Originals to work in towards the back, and they find that first kill.
Huge rotation coming here early on. You don't want to let Los Pepes get any early game momentum. And, well, I mean, to be fair to the Originals, they've done a good job at breaking rotation so far. Fusion, though, can he be the hero that Los Pepes needs? Well, no, is the answer. The Originals get in here early on rotation. We always talk, Austin, about how much of a money hill this P2 hardpoint can be. So the question is, can Los Pepes kind of break serve here and get into this hardpoint?
Will, in fact, be the question. 4 in a row, though. Rafi's starting to heat himself up. Originals might be able to take a nice little early lead, and this is a big 30 seconds, so yeah, you could see it. They were actually considering giving this one last good hit, but I like this. It's a lot of time to give over, but if this play does go horribly wrong, you might not have a chance to be able to actually set up for new. However, this does give you the fast track to start moving towards the new hill, and Furious Claws might have found an angle to actually slip the net and maybe make a move for the spawns.
He might have. Furious, has he slipped the net? Oh, okay, they spotted him. Still an opportunity though. No, not when Fusion's coming in to check it. Okay, Crowd actually takes Furious out. He was trying to take down Fusion. His shots go a bit wayward. Someone's pulled out a magic wand there and made his shots go alright. But Los Pepes are going to be in here for the rotation. The Originals will have to try and find their way in.
Grad will be shrugged away off the Semtex. But support's here. Hockey going to try to lead the charge. Torres able to find the first one. This is going to slow the push down considerably. You're fighting for the last half of the hill. Are they even going to be able to make a move? They'll try, but a couple of more clean kills come through here for Los Pepes. They get a clean 4 down, and now they're able to start flooding out on towards the map a little sooner than you would like here if you're the Originals.
Los Pepes looking for this time once again. This last 20 seconds should go their way. This rotation will prove crucial. Hawkeye will win one against Abuser. Los Pepes now looking for this rotation. They kind of know they have to do a grad. If not, they will not get green control, and that's going to be at the back of their minds as they look to get control of this rotation. Troy is up here, takes the preemptive shots, will win the fight, comes in for a second as well, finds it. Troy has just been so damaging as a sub for this Originals roster. Been a problem since map number 1. Can he continue to be so? At the moment, he will fall, and it will fall on the shoulders of Abuser and Fusion to do something about it.
94-60. Fusion's got the cut. Have to make a move here if you're the Originals. Can't let them chain hills together. These kills need to come through. Hockey's able to find himself one. Finds himself a second. But it's just trades back and forth. No real control. The scrap time's up in the air for either team, and Fusion's going to try and throw his body on it, but will be swarmed with the players here from the Originals. So now we look towards the middle of the map where Crew's trying to hold this center line of defense, but is not really going to be able to find a whole lot. Grad cleans up another trade. So scrappy game, but 40-point lead here for Las Pepes. And now the spawn's actually flipped, so this is a good situation for the Originals if they can come away with a good chunk of time here on this hill.
The Originals, you kind of need this, realistically speaking. I'm getting a little bit deja vu here, Austin, because Los Pepes, this is around the time in P number 1, or in map number 1, sorry, where Los Pepes are able to come out and get an astonishing lead. And, well, there it is. The break coming in from Torres is 4th in a row. You want to stop him from getting streaks early on here, despite him having a pretty solid game overall as far as this map has gone. Los Pepes in for the time. Torres now on a 5 spree inside the hard point. Torres on a 6 spree. Furious does shut him down. 1 kill shy of score streaks, but Los Pepe, they are right back into the hard point. They're taking all of this time up, and again, this is time. I said it, Austin. The Originals, you really cannot afford to give this away.
No, you cannot, and it's becoming more and more difficult here, and we're seeing the strength of this Los Pepes team when it comes down to hardpoint. And they're always holding the lead, it feels like, when we go towards the second set of hills. But it could still change. It could still turn around. You're looking for Grad maybe to pick things up here. Has had a slow start, but comes up with a big double. Now looking for Rafi maybe to do the same, but Torres just runs in. Finds 2 of his own. That clears out the hill. And now they'll start collecting time once again. From rotation to rotation, it feels like they're just always on the time here for us, Brody. Hockey, though, going to come in from behind for a pinch. And Abaza not going to have any of it, as he's going to be able to find himself a kill. Finds even a second, as they're still keeping things in their hands with the last 30 seconds.
Again, this is just a huge rotation coming in from Los Pepes. They got quite a lot of time off it on the back of the very first rotation. You can't let this happen again if you're the Original. You simply can't. And what, this is 15 seconds of time that Los Pepes, I mean, they'll more than happily give it away. They've given themselves a solid lead, what effectively will be a cushion going forward, and you have the rotation to a money kill towards P2. This needs to be as fast of a break we saw in the first set of rotations for the Originals, or this could well close the door early on here for Los Pepes.
Well, it very well might. Fusion in towards the back, just going to be holding on the best he possibly can. They know push is coming through bricks. Fusion finds the first one, but up top, there will be a pinch, and Rafi actually opens up the point for 3! 3 massive kills with the Crank 6 in hand. Close quarters, it does not matter. That is now crucial time over towards the Originals, giving them a chance. With a good 40 seconds to fully collect on this hill, they just have to defend this next push.
That's all you need to do. If you're the Originals, just get this time. Make sure you hold the spawns for a new. They won't do it, though. Torres comes through. He picks up 2. He will fall. Los Pepes surely going to try and maintain this time. I think the Originals at this point, yes, all right, you're giving away 20, 30 seconds of crucial time, but honestly, I'd consider that somewhat of a win. You didn't give all that time away. Okay, Abuser. All right, Abuser, that's okay. Don't worry about it, buddy. You can just rip Furious off that heady. But again, this rotation, crucial. Los Pepes, if they break it, it could be huge. You see Rafi and Furious. They've spawned out. This is all on Hawkeye and Grad. What do you got for us? Hawkeye picks up 1. He will fall, though. So now it's just Grad round the back. A 1 versus 1 against Torres. Furious gets there in time, and the Originals will hold it.
Oh, that's what you needed. The spawns are on lock now for the Originals. So Los Pepes, they need to coordinate their break. Crew's going to slow things down completely and just wait right out front of the hard point. Fusion slips on by. Will be tagged down to about half of his HP, so not going to be able to make a push happen just yet, but now they will ignite the push. They open up with the first couple of kills. Fusion shrugged off of the heady. Grad just trying to hold on here. He's on a couple of kills in a row, and the Originals are still doing a good job of actually soaking up the time. Grad brings home 2. There's 1 member left to try and make something happen, but this looks like the Originals with the numbers will be good for a solid hold here on the hill.
Huge time overall in this game, Austin. The Originals, they get this, they're right back into it, and to be fair, now they are within touching distance of this Los Pepes roster, just 30 points or so behind. It is going to be Los Pepes in for the rotation, though, for the moment, and the Originals, I think, yeah, you want to take your time here, you don't want to hit this I guess, in an overzealous manner and just fumble the bag, but you kind of want to pick up the pace a little bit. You're giving away time, Los Pepes, and they'll be closing the lead. There they are, though. They're in the hard point. Fusion, though, keep an eye on him. He's on a 4 spree, will get shut down. So the Originals, they've done a solid job at the moment of keeping Los Pepes out of the hard point, but they're not getting all that much time themselves here, Austin.
Oh man, 30 seconds left, and Ku is doing a good job of finding these multi-kills, but it hasn't transitioned in towards any real time the last couple of hills for us. 18 seconds up for grabs. The Originals would love to collect this. Torres going to put some pressure on towards the scrap time here, but the team shot's just a little too much to handle right towards the middle of the map, as Furious Claws will soak up the remaining 10 seconds for the Originals. They were down a good 70 or 80 points here, Brody, but they're now just 15 seconds away from being able to take that lead back in their favor, and now they're going to set up the push here in towards B5.
The Originals, they've made this really close. Just one good push here, and it could be huge. Grad starting to heat up, looking for number 2 against Fusions. The shot goes through the wall, he can't get it done. The Originals giving away more time here to Los Pepes. One good hit is all it's going to take, but Traudy and Abuser able to win their ones. It's going to be Torres winning yet another one now, and the Originals here cannot get into the hard point. Los Pepes could finish it on this hill, Austin.
Oh, they might be able to do it. Ku only able to stop one player from moving in towards the hill. It's just 15 seconds left, and it looks to be good. The Originals, they're going to be able to send this to at least one more hill, but this is where we talk about perfect hardpoint having to be played, and Torres is making it so difficult for the Originals to find any favor. There is 3 in a row. That is now going to have to be a lot of individual gunfights going the way of the Originals in hockey, as well as Furious Claws do come away with a couple, but again, they have to play perfect here for us, Brody, and hold on to just about every single second.
They do indeed. One slip up and this series is done. The Originals lose what I said already could be a crucial series in the overall standings here in stage number 4 of Challengers Elite in European Call of Duty. Perfect hard point. That's what we're asking for the Originals. Can they get it done? Grad is unfortunately going to lose his fight, and there it is. The slip up comes in. Los Pepes, they break the hard point. Rafi's going to fall. Grad's going to fall. Furious as well. He's the last chance saloon here. Hawkey tries to find his way in. Los Pepes, 1 second away. They get it done. And Los Pepes walk away with a map number 4 victory here, Austin. It wasn't quite as convincing as we saw in map number 1, but I'd be pretty happy if I'm Los Pepes regardless.
Yeah, I love watching this team play hardpoint. Like, it just feels like even when it comes down to these tight situations where they did give up a bit of their lead there by 70 points, they're just able to recover with their setup, just making sure they're always putting their focus on the more important parts of the map there for us. And Alan, that was a bit of an interesting series where some maps maybe went the way that we didn't expect them to, but in the end, a 3-1 here for Los Pepes.
Yeah, it's just the respawn in general. It could just be summed up by how quick and concise this Los Pepes team is. When it comes to decision making, there is no second guessing. There are moments where it's like, okay, 20 seconds on the clock of scrap time. Do we want to fight for it? No. Let's just play for rotation. They're already set up fully. That's the other thing. You know, we see teams trying to maybe decide to chalk some scrap time, but it's how fast Los Pepes are set up to zone off those rotations. And that becomes extremely punishing on maps like Garrison, and historically throughout this group stage, also maps like Checkmate. But I want to go back to the very top, just talking about what this Los Pepes team has shown us, because a lot of it through week 1, I think we could probably look at their SMGs and say they are the reason that speed and efficiency is built in. But Abuza map number 1 was like 2+ point KD with a minute plus a hill time. He was getting it all done, and I would say largely for Los Pepes, the help from the AR line today was extremely notable compared to what we saw in week 1.
Yeah, it's honestly really refreshing to see a team of players that maybe like aren't as known in towards the scene and come in towards the elite and are able to perform like this and actually be this consistent through one particular game mode. I think that alone is something that you can kind of take away from this and always rely on. Like, it is not easy to always rely on one specific game mode, but when when you're able to rely on something like your hard points or something like your S&Ds, like that's what kind of plays the factor in towards these best of fives, especially against these better squads. And when you can win them, you know, in convincing fashion, where, you know, 250 to 145 in the map number 1, this one could have very easily been a blowout, but we did see the originals fight back a little bit. So in the end, it comes 250 to 212, still convincingly in their favor. So that is, I think, one of the biggest factors here. And when you talk about, you know, not getting a raid control here for the side of the originals for us, right? That's kind of the difficulty of being able to perform in that third game mode. And we could see it there in the Checkmate. It did not look nearly as comfortable as they did them towards the raids in the previous weeks.
I mean, is there anything to be taken away? I mean, we see this very regularly in this Challengers Elite stage, at least the group stage particularly, where teams will almost kind of one-trick a certain game type or map mode combination, or maybe even a, you know, double trick when it comes to like a search and destroy hardpoint. Do you look at that in negative light, or are you kind of looking at this Originals team saying that this matchup was just not favorable? Like, what is your headspace at when it comes to kind of evaluating what we saw from the Originals in this series?
I think the one thing I will say about the Originals, right, is that it isn't that long ago that Wardy was kind of plucked from their ranks. I think that's the one thing I will say, right, is that Amelia Strays, obviously, with the success that they've seen, I do not blame Wardy at all for leaving this roster. That being said, I think overall here for the Originals, you're still kind of in an early phase of figuring everything out, so it's not all that surprised that maybe, yes, they were 4-0 in control, but they lost one, right? It happens every so often. If I had to give them one area that they kind of need to focus on at the moment, is just making sure they're playing as a team, playing as a unit in hardpoint. Because at the moment, I think we're seeing a few individualistic plays that maybe are kind of putting them at a disadvantage to maybe this Los Pepes roster that seems to somehow have like level 100 chemistry out of nowhere. Not really sure where that's come from, but these guys, yeah, these guys are pretty good as a roster. I'll say that much.
So with that, again, we've got a lot of teams that are 2-2 overall. That, of course, breaks that tiebreaker, sending Los Pepes to 3-2, and the Originals fall to 2-3. But we also spoke very largely about what's been going on with Amelia Strays, as you know, that's another team that has been near the bottom of what's been happening so far in the group stage, which has been really puzzling overall. They find themselves currently up 2-1 though versus Mavericks, which is good news. I mean, again, we talked about the fact that Amelia Strays and for Hot Tub Meta, both teams sitting near the bottom, they have to win out. So if they can find a way to steal away a win here versus Mavericks, that'd be good news.
Be great news. I mean, it's just like everything with these elites, like it always comes down to, you know, like these week twos, right? Like it's like everything can completely change up. We've seen it, I mean, so many times where it's like teams that are looking solid and towards the week 1 or at the top, but then they slip right down towards the bottom if they just have a bad showing over the course of 2 days. So it gives you an opportunity to still, you know, change up a lot here for us. And overall, that is a squad that, you know, like the Mavericks, I think that a lot of people also aren't really maybe expecting to do a ton here in towards this bracket, but I think they have the ability to kind of do some damage, still kind of find some of these wins here. And it's coming back to all these teams that are just 2-2. Like they need to find these head-to-heads if it comes down to, you know, who is getting in and who is actually going to be sitting out near the bottom there for us. So this is why I think I always love the week 2s of the elites. They're my favorites because you just don't know what will in fact take place and who's going to be kind of dropping out or rising to the top.
Well, since that is going into a map 4, we actually will be taking a look to see how the rest of this series pans out, and this is how they've gone so far. A couple of close respawns through and through, but Amelia Strays able to just narrowly edge out Mavericks, both in the Checkmate hardpoint and most recently in the round 5 of the raid control. Search and Destroy continues to seem to be a bane of the existence of a number of squads so far through the group stage. It's like you're either great at respawn and awful at search, or vice versa. There's not a lot in the middle at the moment, but it is an Apocalypse hardpoint coming up. And, you know, we talked about the fact that both of these teams are dealing with maybe a bit of unexpected roster changes. A map like Apocalypse Hardpoint, I think our focus and lens would have to be mostly geared towards what happens to try to break up some of these initial setups for squads, because so many of these hardpoints can be turned into money hills so quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of what Mavericks and Amelia Strays are going to be like here in this series. Honestly, you know, more to me here than anything. Obviously, Mavericks making their roster change. We're going to get to talk about it more in depth later on when they do face war, right? But for me, with this Mavericks roster, I'm very excited to see how Eric Boom is going to play with Vickle. Because these guys, they used to run the amateur Call of Duty scene in Spain. They are a duo and a half, so I'm very excited to see what they're able to do here, Austin.
Now we'll see what they can do. Mickle, though, 2-0 start, able to get in towards the mix here for the first couple of kills, which does actually translate to a nice little 15 seconds picked up for the Mavericks very early on. They're also still controlling the spawns here for P2, which is really what this map is all going to come down to, the P2s, the P5s. So watching at the moment, we'll have to see Amelia Strays somehow find their way through the middle of the map here and try and break in towards the back of the spawns.
We'll see what happens here. Of course, remind a few folks at home, you can see it at the top of the screens. Amelia Strays 2-1 up in this series. They currently sit at the very bottom of our overall table for stage 4. Not exactly how we expected it to go for what is this newfound roster. Of course, bringing Wardy in favor of Nuke J, who unfortunately has had to take some time away from the Call of Duty scene. But from Mavericks, very excited to see what they're able to do here in this one. They currently have the rotation in 4P2. Austin, they've already got players over there.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit difficult to kind of deal with, and Vickel's actually pushing all the way up. Look how much map pressure there is, and look at the spawns. Like, you are spawning where P5 would be, and Vickel's actually just going to make this early rotation. Wardy is not ready for it whatsoever, and you're going to see Jaxter try to come in from behind to pinch up Vickel, who is on 4 in a row. So they will shut down the spree, but I mean, you're worried about Vickel in the back of P5 while all this time is going on P2. So now this allows everyone else to start moving across the map here, and that is a full 60 that comes here for the Mavericks, looking at what is going to be about 90 points to 13 here heading in towards the barrel zone.
Oh, super. Able to pick up 2 huge gunfights from the Mavericks, and what a blazing start this has been in hardpoint, right? Everybody having a great start overall. Nobody's lagging behind, and it shows in the scoreline where Mavericks are winning pretty much every single rotation. This is one that Amelia Strays desperately needed to win realistically. Eric Boom going to fly. That's just disgusting. Eric Boom able to get that one done. But Piero, what can he do? Now starting to heat up here in this game on a 4 spree. Will have to do quite a bit on his lonesome for the moment. Picks up number 5. Just a few kills shy here, Austin, from streaks. And, well, really helping Amelia Strays get back into this game. Yeah,
much needed. Much needed for sure. And at least showing signs of life here for us. But we'll have 20 seconds left on towards the Barrels Hill. Might just be an easy cleanup in from behind. All right, it will in fact be. Got a little closer than I thought it might, but we'll now look towards yet another rotation. And guess who's here first? Like, whatever we're looking at, who is set up at the new hill, it has been over towards the Mavericks, as they have not had a whole lot of success so far in towards the respawns, but they're looking pretty damn good on towards the Apocalypse now. 70-point lead in their favor. Super's already cutting off now. All the players are going to be exiting off of the Barrels Hill, but will be sniffed out. Still got to get in towards the back. They clean up Eric Boom, and actually now a chance to flip out the spawns here for Amelia Strays.
Huge rotation from Mavericks. Really could hurt Amelia Stray's chances in this game so far if they're able to flip this rotation out pretty much straight away. The wrist trade's going down right out the gate here. Super and Vickel going to come out on top, and it is literally just Watson close by. Well, yeah, I was going to say you could do something about this, but immediately Vickel closes the door on that potentiality as Mavericks back inside, earning the remainder of this time. And Amelia Strays, they find themselves in this really awkward position where they don't want to push out the back line because they will lose spawns for the next hardpoint, which of course is one of the hardest hills to break in the game. This is a terrifying situation for Amelia Strays. Like, you're in horror movie territory here because you have 0 hold over the next rotation. As I said, statistically speaking, it is one of the hardest hills to break in the game at the moment. And look at the scoreline, Austin. Amelia Strays, they're having a horrible time.
Yeah, I mean, 32 points on the board. It's been tricky for sure, and like, it's the zoning. Like, it's just how far back they're pushed before they can even get towards the hill, and this is why. Like, Vickel is dancing around you, almost picks up 3. Making it just so difficult to move in with numbers. When you do finally get towards the hills with a couple of players, and they will actually find some nice long-range shots. That's 3 that end up dropping. So Vickel again, last line of defense, and he's able to find 2. Is there another 3-piece? There is not. So we'll see the remaining 25 seconds or so go over towards Amelia Strays, pending they do in fact hold off the next push if one does take place. But this is still a difficult spot to be in. I mean, we're heading in towards the next set of hills. You were already at 173 points here if you're the Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, Amelia Strays, they've broken for some time, right? So some positives there. There's definitely an opportunity for Amelia Strays to get back in this game. And I think at this point, you kind of just need to get yourselves a mental reset. Look, guys, you know, we're stage 3 champions, for heaven's sake. We can come back into this game. They're more than capable of doing it. They just need to get the ball rolling here with a good hold on P1. Mavericks, of course, going to have it at the back of their mind. They want to focus in the rest rotation. Wardy kind of wants to break this early on. It could be huge for Amelia Strays if he does it.
Super. Oh, nice shots there from Wardy. So that is a big kill, and you talk about it, and look at the flip. All those blue arrows there on your minimap, they are now spawning in behind P5. They'll have to try to work themselves through P3 and attack through the front. Wardy, though, on the nastiest heady, probably available in towards Cold War. We'll meet 4 players. Does not take a whole lot of damage. Has someone watching over him. Will take that challenge now. Wardy head on, brings home the gunfight. And Amelia Strays, not out of this one just yet, actually get a good amount of time off of this P1 hill, and they do have the setup. It's just a matter of holding on to it, and you feel like a full 60 here might just be enough to get them right back in towards the game, and maybe even take it.
Well, I said what they needed to do, Austin, to get back into this game. Hey, look, would you look at that? They're about to do it. Maybe. Maybe not. Watson's able to pick up 2. I said maybe not, because it is just Wardy sitting on the hill, all on his lonesome for the moment. And there you go, actually. It is now going to be Vickle and Super able to come through. So now it's them versus a few Amelia Strays players. What can they do? Eric Boom's able to come in here for support. Eric Boom, can he get it done? He gets 2. Eric Boom, why not? He will unfortunately fall. So Amelia Strays should get the remainder of this scrap time. I don't think Mavericks will push it that heavily. Maybe one last push in here. You want to get it done swiftly if you're going to go at all. But if anything, I feel like at this point in time, Mavericks should be much better off just zoning, making sure that Amelia Strays don't really get out of this hard point with the rotation.
The fact that they've been able to come back, though, from what was 32 points going into towards like B5, or maybe even it was the resets, actually, is actually not too bad. So, Mavericks have slowed up a little bit. Super on 4 in a row. Maybe trying to earn some of those streaks. There's been a lot of streaking happening for the Mavericks players, but have not really been able to lock in any artilleries or cruise missiles. Super now on 5. Waiting for the challenge here for the last couple of members from Amelia Strays. Will now meet his demise. So no streaks available. As we'll see 142 to 191. Watson up top, just waiting for a move to be made. Watching over, but is not really going to be able to find too much, as now his teammates also move on through. Semtexes are stopping them from actually coordinating a hit. And Vickle, well, just being annoying. This is just what he does, bro. He just bounces it in and around, gets the information, but so far the hill has just been held here from the Mavericks as they're over 200 points.
Indeed, Mavericks, they need this to try and not necessarily finish this game, but most certainly looking to get close to it. Mavericks will be looking for the scrap time. Every single kill is just going their way. Amelia Strays, their grip on this game quickly slipping away. Wardy in the backline, to be fair, pretty nutty with this AK-74U. Definitely trying, and hey, why wouldn't you? May have just opened up a door here for Amelia Strays to get this rotation on lock. Chaxter, inside that back room, will end up picking 1. But there's just so much to do for him here. Eric Boom going to come through, pick up 2. Mavericks, they're in here, Austin. They just need 20 seconds to win it. Amelia Strays, 1 more hit.
1 more hit to break this P4 hill. Do they have it in them? So far, it's a lot of blue in the feed. A couple of individual moments need to happen. Watson not able to find it. Jackster from the front gets Vickle, but not close to the hill. Gonna take another shot there in towards his teammate. They have no time to get a touch, and well, the Mavericks, they come out here swinging in the map number 4, taking all of the respawns the whole way through here, and just a beautiful performance to come out with a 3-1 victory.
I think what's scariest there about that entire map is, you know, you speak about that sort of second rotation at the very beginning there, Austin, right? We had a P1 and P2 where Amelia Strays are able to sort of break on into P1, then they break rotation for P2, and if they're not able to do that, that scoreline is... yeah, it's horrible. It's really horrible. It's a lot worse. It's a lot more embarrassing for that Amelia Strays roster. That was a convincing victory there for our Spanish side of Mavericks. They'll be feeling pretty good about that one. It was just such a surge early on, and I could tell the way that was going to go. As soon as we saw that rotation from P2 to P3, where it's just like Amelia Strays, they lost it right out the gate, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of those games, isn't it? Yeah, and it was.
It's even like the P1 hill, like they actually got a good chunk of time off of P1 too, and I mean, as you say it, like once you get a full 60 off of P2, yeah, it's like 80 to 13 at that point in time, or like 90 to 13, something like that. And you're just able to hold on towards this lead and just contest the scrap time from here on out. And that just puts so much pressure on Amelia Strays, because you're having to dedicate players to maybe locking down the last 15 seconds as well as trying to focus on some of the rotations. But it was just, I think, so surprising to see how many moments that the Mavericks were able to find here, pushing out on towards the map and just really forcing the spawns like as deep as they can go. I know Apocalypse is not a big map and you can track it pretty quickly, but when you're forcing the opponents to spawn, you know, as far as possible, it does become pretty difficult to set up some coordination in and around a lot of these hills there for us. So that was just, you know, as good as it gets overall when we're talking about the hard points. And when you have those nice clean starts and you chain those hills together, like it just gives you so much breathing room to play the rest of that map out. And that's exactly what they do. They come out with a 3-1 victory for us, Brody, and that's a big one to come away with here. And taking all the respawns, I feel like is that much more important for as far as going up against these other squads here on the day as well as tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, as we take a look over our tour on map set, we're going to a Moscow search and a story from map number 5 between these two teams. We had these questions kind of reserved about Mavericks for their matchup versus Team War, which of course will follow this. That being said, I feel like a lot of these questions have already been answered, right, with Mavericks. They had Yakko kind of plucked away from them by Team War. And of course, again, we'll have that storyline prepped and ready for you guys, cooked and sent to the dining table for everyone at home to eat up for that next series. But nonetheless, I mean, Vickle, he's come into this roster. He already has that pre-established chemistry with some of these players from various sort of Spanish leagues over in Europe. And it's shining through here. Shining through. Vickle, before I know that's kind of, I guess we've only seen Apocalypse Hard from these guys, so it's kind of not all that surprising that we're seeing sort of a very sub-heavy team perform very well on Apocalypse. Surprise, surprise. But nonetheless, It definitely has answered some questions for me about how assured I am in this team's future.
And now for a Moscow. Not a standoff, unfortunately, here for us, Brody, but a Moscow.
No, I know.
It's we'll have to settle for it for sure. Clearly vetoed out in towards all of the games for us overall. But I mean, this Mavericks lineup does have a pretty nice S&D record just about across the board here for us, but they've only played on a couple of maps. This will actually be their very first Moscow Search and Destroy. They've had a lot of experience on towards Express and a little bit on towards Raid, which are typically a little bit longer maps here, so you are still utilizing the ARs as well as the subs and mixing them on in. So this very well could be a big game for them to come away with, but overall, not having a whole lot of experience on Moscow could mean that you might be giving a little bit of an advantage, at least over here towards Amelia Strays, but at the same time, they have not been as consistent in towards this game out either. They're only usually playing and winning out on towards the raids. They're 0-1 on Moscow. So this actually should be an interesting one because this is where all that prep time kind of comes into, and also the willingness to kind of throw out a couple more of these maps before getting into where something like playoffs, where you're at least getting the experience on maps that you haven't played so far in towards the elite. And this will be kind of a good look at how they're playing it, how strong they look, and how they're going to be able to adapt here on the fly heading in towards a pivotal map 5 that's going to decide everything.
Yeah, for sure. I will say as well, these teams, they're not in dissimilar positions, right? I mean, I guess they're a little bit different, right, in terms of the context. Amelia Strays, obviously, they're coming off a victory in Stage 3, a Cinderella run that nobody really quite expected to happen. Whereas Mavericks, I think, they've always kind of been a team in the shadows, in lying in wait to do something over the course of the season. I'm sure Andy proper is sitting at home at the moment watching this and thinking, I always knew these guys were so good. Of course, because they were, right, throughout the season, back when they first started, before, unfortunately, Method Sick had to take a step back and retire. And then, of course, they brought Sukri into the roster. And now, of course, following this new change to the team where Yakko's up and left and gone for a war, throughout thick and thin, this team has gone from strength to strength from each season. They weren't present for Stage 2. They weren't Stage 1. Sorry, they weren't present for Stage 2, and they finally made their debut in Stage 3. And I'd say it's a pretty excellent debut since they got into 3rd place. But now both teams on the same footing in the sense that they've been sort of bundled with a roster change that maybe they didn't exactly want. Now, game number 5, we see which team is the better team with a bundled roster change. Austin,
we'll see it. Will absolutely come on through here. The Moscow Search and Destroy, ladies and gentlemen, about to start on up here for you guys. We'll see how it's going to come on in because Mavericks came off a pretty dominating map number 4. Can they carry any of that in towards the S&D? We're about to find out. Offense first will be here for Amelia Strays, as it looks to be a little mid-map rush here to kind of kick things off. And you do not have trophy systems, so you can look to kind of get some of those Semtexes or stuns on out, clear out some of the power positions. But Jackster, he says, I'm just going to use the 74U. This opens up the mid lane, and well, right on towards the B side, they will go for a plant.
And talk about these power positions. What about the power of Chaxter's AK-74U? He's able to come through, pick up that first bomb down straight away. I'm interested to see what Amelia Strays do for their post-plant positioning. So often we see teams just give the bomb site. That's not what Amelia Strays are doing. Mavericks going to have to prize it from their dead cold hands. They're able to draw first blood here. Chaxter down for the count on this retake. Eric, second kill of this round. And now Amelia Strays have been sent out to the buses. It's just Wardy. It's just Watson. They're over here. Wardy's able to pick up one.
Wow.
Wardy able to pick up a second. And quickly this turns on its head. What a play from Wardy. Amelia Strays, hello?
That was some crazy teamwork right there. Wardy, he goes for the check and then snaps on Eric. And then the team shots come through. Not sure if Vickle was tagged up or if that was in towards the second player or not, but just cleans them up on top of it. And they are able to pull off a 2 versus 3 pinned behind the bus on the street. Not an easy situation to come out with, but they're able to do it. And that was looking like a round that might have went over, but man, what a play here from Amelia Strays to come out here swinging.
What a play indeed. Amelia Stray is going to kick off for the first blood here, and once again, they're playing like a wolf pack. You can see it on the mini-map, sending 3 players over towards A right out the gate on this push. Mavericks, they've gone for a pretty unique strategy here. I get the feeling that they kind of want to send players over towards B, make a bit of noise, smoke and mirrors, while Vickle has a free plant on A, and it might have worked without making any noise at all.
Super. Going to take a couple of glances over towards the statue, trying to get some extra information, as you do see player 5 there. Is trying to play it and work it slow. But we'll see now the nades come through. They're able to tag up a couple of the players. They're maybe thinking about just going for a quick little rotation to B, and it looks like it might just end up coming on in. They do have a little bit of control, but not in towards the site. Watson still in the live, but Jackster, will he find 2? He will. And now half the team is down. Make that 3 out of 4. That is beautiful. Jackster gets 1 more, and that's going to be Amelia Strays with a nice little 2-0 lead to kick things off in the map 5.
Too little, too late there. And then realistically speaking as well, you shouldn't really be letting Shaxter do that, to be honest with you. I think that was just a massive fumbling in the bag from this Mavericks roster, a team that normally plays together. They just weren't there, really. Fragmented push, Amelia Strays in with the punish, and, well, they are coming off much better at the moment. 2-0 start for them. Shaxter 4-1. Watson and Wardy yet to die. We'll see whether or not they can keep it up.
Over towards the street side. A little bit of a change up. Last time was right through the middle of the map. Vickle, he's going to spot out the push, and he's got great cover fire. First kill there on towards Jackster. That's going to stop things here on towards the street side. I did lose my feed there for a quick second, but think we're okay. Watson trades 1 back over. 3v3 we go.
First blood coming into Wardy. Flies out that window. Now he's kind of in danger zone though, really. He's stuck between Sukri and Eric Boom. Oh boy, I would not want to be there. He is going to fall. Still though, now a 2 versus 2. Amelia Strays will be able to get away with the bomb here, and they have a free plant over towards A. Watson's going to be watching this cross as well, so as soon as they go for Eskies, he should have this. He will get 1. Mavericks playing much better as a team this time. They'll trade it out. Eric Boom will fall, and Amelia Strays here. 3-0 now. It's just every single situation is just going in their favor here, Austin.
It's so tough to recover from a 3-0 deficit too, because it's like everything you're doing is just not working. You're trying to hard counter the middle of the map and stop them from getting any map control. You find that first pick, and then it just kind of slowly but surely dissipates for you, and you're unable to find those trades and really stop them from making their moves on towards the map. So this is the round that needs to come through. You can't go 4-0 down in this map number 5. It's going to be too difficult to kind of come back in. Amelia Strays, heavy stack in and around the A site. Eric Boom slides in, but the trades go in the way of Amelia Strays. Wardy is going to land some shots. It will come out with Vickle, but it's going to have to be a 1 versus 3 if Mavericks are going to find their first round.
So great. Now a 1 versus 2. We'll be walking away. He's taking the long way here.
Sure
really long way.
He's going for a route.
Right? This is a route and a half. The good news, I suppose, for Sukri is if he manages to take Piero without him seeing him, which he probably will, to be fair, now that I've said it, he will get away without a trade. That is the key thing here. Here you go. That's going to be a cool nade. You can see Wardy making the move over. Sukri's been blinded. No tack mask for him. And now it's just a matter of time here. Sukri going to try and make the play happen. He won't, of course. Wardy puts some extra shots in the body just to make sure. And Amelia Strays once again continue their flawless S&D.
Flawless S&D, Brody. I mean, you can't really say anything other than the fact that it's been exactly that. It's been flawless. It's been so strong that there hasn't been really too many moments where Mavericks have found themselves in a favorable situation, or when they have, they've just been clutched up on when we look back towards the 2v3 and whatnot. So Amelia Strays, oh, all right. Maybe some frustration or maybe some thing going wrong. Either way, that is going to be all 4 players that end up dropping there. Host will end the game. 4-0 is maybe where we'll take it. Maybe they went mental boom. I have no idea, Brody. Either way, all we know is that things are going really well for Amelia Strays.
Yeah, definitely. Amelia Strays here having a great go of things here in the Search and Destroy Austin. I'd say at the moment, really what's separating out these two teams is just these individual moments where for some reason the brains on the Mavericks roster just kind of seem to fizzle out. They're not quite there in the moment for whatever reason. Like just the number of things that we expect to see from this Mavericks roster. Maybe down to the fact here that with this Mavericks team that they're still dealing with a new player on board. They're trying to get their Search and Destroy strategies down. Of course, as we always know, that is the game mode which is most affected by any given roster change for any given team. You know, there's certain things that I'm seeing Mavericks, they're not playing as a team. You know, I think the biggest one that comes to mind at the moment is Chaxter. He's able to get a 3-piece and he doesn't even get touched, really. Like, no one trades each other off. They just kind of go in one by one, and it's just not a surprise that Chaxter's able to walk away with a 3-piece. And that right there at the moment kind of sums up, I feel at least, what's happening to this Mavericks roster.
I think that's a big part of it. I mean, and it can be frustration too when there's rounds that you feel like you should be winning where they have actually drew a couple of first bloods, but they're not actually coming out with those ones. That's when I think the frustration really seeps on through, and it's like, all right, like those are the rounds we should be winning, guys, and that's when maybe some of those arguments start taking place overall, where it's like, okay, we need to find the trades here, we need to be taking control of this, but it can be so difficult when you have a team that has this much of a lead that they're just able to play so much more freely than you, and you have to play a little bit more conservative because you need the rounds. I mean, you're recovering from what is 4-0 up here for the side of Amelia Strays. The Mavericks, who are at a 2-2 record, really need to come away with this map so they can kind of beat these teams that are also at 2-2. But it's going to have to start here for us, Brody, as we're coming back in towards it here in round 5.
There's going to be 2 players over here on the defense for the Mavericks. Boom and Vickle. Vickle's going to fall, so now it is just Eric Boom. Super and Sukri going to be coming in for the support. Oh, Chaxter, that's a disgusting kill to pick up right off the gate. Amelia Strays once again with a man advantage. It is just Eric Boom and Sukri here to do something.
Won't be able to find that first one. 1 versus 3. Oh, here comes the collapse. Run for the hills. There is the kill. Even some body shots there. Amelia Strays. My lord, Brody. You're just coming in here looking as fierce as ever, winning gunfights, not even getting traded, and then once they have the numbers advantage, they're just running at you as a wolf pack right now. And there is nothing that can be done to stop it, as you're just seeing gunfights be won. Chaxter, another little multi-kill that plays the factor for coming up in the round, and now one more round needs to come through for Amelia Strays to get a hot 6-0 in the map 5.
Just one more round. This is not good if you're a Mavericks fan. We always know that there's quite a lot of them out there. The Mavericks fan base is, well, a passionate one. Amelia Stray is going to be upsetting many people with this victory, including the 4 players that Mavericks currently contain, which are just not having a good go of things. They need to get something in their favor pretty quickly. And they're going to go for a mid push. Whichever bomb site they go to at the moment, they're going to face resistance here, Austin.
Right in front in lobby. Need to hold on towards this defensive position. Wardy's been spotted out, but does take home 1. However, Eric Boom swings things over towards the Mavericks for now. A chance to be able to get that first round, as it's all up to Watson. Bomb is down on A. 1 versus 3 with 40 seconds to make this happen.
Well, it's looking like Mavericks might get around on the board here. Austin. Watson going to try his best to pull off a 1 versus 3, and what a momentous 1 versus 3 it would be. But just outside the realms of possibility there, to be honest with you, Austin. 1 versus 3 for even a player like Watson is a little bit out of reach.
Sure is, and overall, they got around, Brody. They got around, and I have seen some of the craziest comebacks happen on this map of all search and destroy maps for us, but this would have to be a full sale. And, well, those just do not happen every day. They happen maybe once or twice a year if we're lucky in professional play, and it's very rare that we see them. However, at least you're able to get yourself around. You take a bit of a reprieve overall, kind of getting out of the map and coming back into it. Maybe that's what they needed to kind of get their heads on straight, but it's a lot of work. It's an uphill battle for sure. And now heading in towards what will be, I suppose, the round number 8 to see if they can, in fact, come out with a win. It's just got to be all blue from here on out for us.
Does indeed. What are you going to throw? Some throwables the way of Super. Super's going to back away from the fight, though. Amelia Stray is just getting a feel for what they will want to be the final round here in Search and Destroy. I think they've quite decided which bomb site they want to attack just yet. They may be posturing towards B. They're certainly leaning that way in terms of map control. Watson, sneaky, sneaky snake. Trying to sliver his way down the street, and he will sliver his way towards a kill. You'd think that would turn the attention of Mavericks over towards B. It hasn't. They've snuffed out what this push is. Not quick enough, though, unfortunately, for Mavericks, as it was a 1 versus 3 for Watson in the last round. Now a 1 versus 3 for Super. He's about to walk right out to the loving arms of Watson, and Oof. Watson gives him a giant fat kiss and says goodnight.
Says goodnight, and that is a beatdown, man. 6-1. Not messing around in the map number 5. I know, with the way the Mavericks come off of that map 4, Brody, like, I was certainly expecting them to come in towards this one with, a little bit more, but it just has not come through here for us overall. And you can see it, of course, the map is over. We had to end it when it was 4-up for Amelia Strays. So the total in the tally will be 6-1. And that is just one heck of a game to kind of come on through with to really find yourself a win, despite still being at the bottom of the leaderboards here on the Elite.
Yeah, for sure. A bit of an anticlimax there. One to rival Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Alan, you were sitting in the wings there watching that one. How do you feel, buddy?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, the biggest round takeaway that I had that I think could probably categorize that entire 7-round affair was the simple round that Amelia Strays get full possession of bricks by A on offense, and nobody from Mavericks even gets a read that they're there. So that opens up for 2 very easy kills, and that just kind of goes to show that there are some big gaps right now for Mavericks through and through. Now, we didn't get a chance to watch them play Miami Search and Destroy, which was a 6-2. So maybe it's just that map was a little bit faulty for him overall. Coming off of a hot hard point, you thought maybe the guns were going to continue to stay hot going into a very scrappy Moscow search, but simply put, it just felt like the defense has never had a solid read. So with that, Amelia Strays, big must-win map there for them overall. And with the results from our first set of games here in this 3rd day, the standings have shifted pretty darn considerably. We started the day with 4 teams at 2-2. We've now got 4 teams at 2-3. So really all that means is the end of this day, and then especially tomorrow, a lot is going to happen as far as not just who stays at the top, but more importantly, who can stay out of the bottom. It might be a little bit more difficult for Hot Tub Meta. They did lose their matchup, so they fall down to 1-4, but really everything else is completely up for grabs when it comes down to who can finish off that knockout bracket and get into that place, and who will try to avoid that relegation. But that is just our first slot, as mentioned. We've got a second slot coming up. And if we take a look at the schedule, boys, it's going to be a really, really good matchup, because flat out, we've got a really, really good one in front of us that's going to, again, impede on what's happening with our overall implications. We're going into Team War versus this Mavericks team coming up next, Austin.
Yeah, and for Team War, this is a big one because we mentioned like day 1 last week had a little bit of a slow start, was unable to kind of get anything going. Then day 2, Team War from the beginning of the game, comes alive, comes out here for us, and gives us a nice little 2-2 record where they come away with a couple of wins. But this is the big one. Mavericks obviously have to bounce back coming in towards this series here quite quickly, and Team War, I think, just need this win overall to really prove to themselves as well as everyone else that listen, like, we are still a top contender. Like, that is one of the biggest factors. This team does make a bit of a swap up when we see NVIDIA move towards this coaching role, but this is really about kind of getting on track here as we're nearing the end of the season, coming up here on finals in the next couple of months. This is where you want to start at least getting close towards that form that you were on at the beginning of the game, where it looked like at one point in time they were untouchable when it was coming down to some of their controls and some of their respawns, but that has not been the case as of late. So have to really kind of show us that they can take down Mavericks maybe convincingly, so that they can then again kind of transition that in towards some of the top teams, and they can maybe come out with a couple of wins. So this will be a nice test for them to see how they're doing and whether or not it is just a hot and cold thing like we see from PBG in North America.
Well, a bit of a grudge match as well here, though, you have to keep in mind as well, Brody, just simply off the fact that this was one of the major roster swap moves have happened. So for Mavericks, something to prove here. But even just beyond that, for Mavericks, they play up against Team War here today, but tomorrow, their final match in the group stage is versus Elevate. So in my mind, it kind of feels like a must-win situation more for Mavericks than Team War. Final thoughts on that before we send it to break?
Yeah, Mavericks, they have quite a lot to do here. This is the Spanish face-off that every Spanish fan has dreamed of for quite some time. Team War, this new look War roster, they've yoinked Yakko from this Mavericks side. Mavericks have kind of had to patch that up with the young Vickle, and we're about to see the results of those roster changes. I'm so excited, Alan. I'm ready to get into it.
Spanish grudge match, it's going to be coming up next. We'll send things off to just a brief pause while our teams get set up for the lobby and, of course, the map picks. We'll let you know what the series looks like when we come back after this. Welcome back, everybody. We have had an electric day. We started off with a couple of teams up top, a couple of teams down low, and 4 heavy stacked gridlock teams in the middle. Things haven't shifted too much, but the conversation will still follow those teams that now find themselves at 2 and 3 overall. My whole shift with me is, of course, Visions and Infinity, and we're going to be looking at not just 2 teams that are 2 and 3, but 2 teams that are also hailing largely from Spain. So you have to imagine that there's a lot of grudge match potential on the line here, especially as we mentioned with a little bit of roster swapping happening with Yako being pulled up from Mavericks to Team War here. Visions should provide a very interesting one with both teams coming off of a most recent loss in their previous match.
Yeah, both of these teams have something to prove. Team War want to prove, like, listen, we took Yako for a reason. We're going to slap you, and we're going to show you what's up. On the other hand, we want to show you why you shouldn't have taken Yako away and how we're going to come out and actually pull off the win. Now, the biggest factor, I think, coming in here is that we know Team War has been really inconsistent, but they have taken, a big win off of Elevate, which is, one of the top squads that we do have currently within European Challengers. So I think that's one of the big factors that you do have for yourself, but are they going to bring that same level to every single matchup? Because it feels like when they are playing the top squads, like they are actually playing like really, really well, but when they play these teams that are maybe in the middle of the pack or the bottom, it doesn't feel like maybe the same intensity is there. So I'm curious to see if that intensity is going to be here up against this massive grudge match that they have here.
I mean, we framed this up before we went to break here for a moment, Brody. The simple fact that for Mavericks, your next match after this is actually versus Elevate, which, let's be honest, probably not likely for a win for those guys. This feels like a must-win situation because at the end of the day, one of these teams that finds themselves at 2 and 3 will be in the conversation pool for relegation. Just comes down to how many of those teams that are currently at 2 and 3 will be down there with Hot Tub Meta. This, though, feels like if you want to get that 3rd win, this is your best chance to do it if you're Mavs.
Yeah, for sure, right? Mavs, I will say as well, it could produce a Dominic effect if they end up winning this. Domino, I don't know who Dominic is, by the way. Domino effect if you do end up winning this. If you win this against War, it gives you a massive confidence boost. You have just come off, your teammates hopped, jumped ship, he's gone away to this War roster. You just beat him. Yako, mate, what are you doing? You just left. Massive confidence boost to your roster. And of course, going up against a squad against like Elevate, you need confidence. That is absolutely key. So definitely could change things here if Mavericks are able to come out with a win.
I'll say this much just before we look at the 5-map series set that we have. For Team War, the record is not necessarily incredible. Obviously, 2 and 3 is not what you like to see. But a number of the maps that they've lost have been tremendously close. I'm talking 230s plus to 250s on hard points. A couple of rounds, they had one round 11 versus Orglis just recently. And then even in the control, 2 of their 3 control losses went round 5. So Visions overall, you have to feel like that experience, that little bit of veteranship and just kind of going down to the wire, not just in series, but also in maps, that should lead to maybe that little bit of, okay, one small mistake gets fixed and we're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's like the mental clarity there is something that even happened at the beginning of the game. Like, how many times did we see them come back in map 5s? Like, I think I remember like so many times. So like they have the ability to always keep things close. It's like you said, it's like fixing those one little mistakes, and it's the factor that it's usually a different mistake maybe each time that ends up costing them maybe just a little bit of an advantage. So that can kind of be the problem overall when we're looking at it. But I think you do bring up a great point where it's like, listen, we just need to kind of actually get on the same page in these later moments and then also ice up on top of it, which isn't always the easiest thing to do, but if you can start to do that a little bit more consistently, that's when that confidence that you had at the beginning of the game when you were just basically running over the competition actually comes back to you.
That's a very strong point. Taking a look at the map series set as far as how this one will fare and where we will play. A pretty good amount of Garrison into the mix for our first 3 maps, as we'll get it for both the respawns, the hardpoint, and the control. Express in the mix for the search. Moscow once more going to be part of the hardpoint rotation, and then that map 5 standoff. Still waiting for us on the back end, but looks like we are getting underway. It'll be the Garrison hardpoint first and foremost for both of these teams. Brody, myself, and you will be kind of taking this one away, and for Team War, you just look at, really both of these teams, not a lot of playtime when it comes to Garrison, and I feel like overall you have to be looking at those SMGs first and foremost to see if A, the pickup is good news for War, or if B, the substitutions from Mavericks are going to be able to hold on against this juggernaut.
Yeah, for sure, right? Those are the questions I'd be asking right now between Mavericks and War. There is just so much between these guys that I really need to talk about here, Alan, so I'm very excited to see what's going on between them as we jump into map number 1. Of course, big players I'm looking out for here for Team War and Mavericks. I know we didn't get to really speak about this as we got into the map particularly. I'm really looking for Lucky on Team War. And for Mavericks in particular, I'm really looking at Eric Boom. And I know those are two very contrasting players. I think overall, Lucky with the AR and Eric Boom with the SMG. But really for me, I think, specifically looking at these rosters, they have been the standout players, I think, this season thus far.
I mean, Vision, just kind of final points. We talked about this Team War squad. I mean, you and I talked off the radar just talking about who's going to be filling in Nvidian spots. So Lucky and Metals, now those double ARs, we had a couple of raised eyebrows. Would they able to really get a true anchor into the mix? That could be maybe where they've missed out on a couple of these rotations. Well, I threw to you, and I apologize. Timing was not great. We'll talk to you about that in a moment here, Austin.
Sounds good.
We'll jump back into this here. Garrison hardpoint on the table for us. Pretty solid start, it looks like, at least from what we could tell throughout this kaleidoscope of our feed at the moment. So maybe not. We'll come back. We'll get, Austin, we will get there. Your thoughts on this double AR setup really quickly for us.
I don't think it's as strong as what we saw before. Like, I think it's really difficult to transition in towards these roles, especially when Metals has been playing a really strong sub throughout the last couple of years. Like we saw it last year on Toronto Ultra, how he was able to come in a lot of moments and actually heighten their search and destroy play. And then throughout the beginning of this game, when they were finding success, it was because Metals felt like one of those players that was those roaming SMG that you had to always figure out where he was on the map, because if you don't know, well, he's probably behind you creating some plays and actually kind of loosening up the defensive setup in a lot of cases. So I think that overall I'm not on board with it just yet, but with a little bit more time they still have the chance to be able to get there. You have to kind of take in that Lucky and Metals have spent a lot of time together overall, and it's just about refining that AR duo altogether. So I'm not the biggest fan of it because I think Metals is an extremely explosive OBJ player that's able to kind of take over in a lot of big moments, but there's still time, and it's just a matter of making that happen sooner rather than later.
Is there anything maybe in the mindset, we haven't really talked a lot about this, but Team Heretics from Black Ops 4, they came out looking really fiery, really hot, couple of really good finishes, couple of really poor finishes. You've got representatives on both sides of the table that formerly were a part of that Heretics team. Now, for Modern Warfare, Brody, there wasn't exactly the most eclectic results for some of these guys, but do you feel like this is the year that they have to try to kind of maybe bounce back if they want to have some weight when it comes to a CDL conversation again?
Oh, for sure, and I think this definitely applies when you're looking at Lucky and Metals. If we're entering the CDL conversation here, Lucky and Metals, they got, I think, the worst possible ending, I think, to the 2020 season for them, where effectively they were on the Toronto Ultra. They were facing a Toronto Ultra that were effectively going to be shaving down their roster. I mean, it was quite clear at the end of the 2020 season that maybe a 10-man roster wasn't the right idea overall. So Lucky and Metals, unfortunately, just didn't get a nice end of that stick, and well, they end up in challenges. And again, this is what challenges is for, right? It's a proving ground to try and earn a spot in the CDL. We'll see whether or not Lucky and Metals will be proving it here on this Team War roster. Metals is having a pretty good start to this game overall, Alan. 14-5 thus far, and score streaks ready and raring to go.
Yeah, Lucky was on 7 there for a moment that we saw. It sounds like there is going to be a Charisma Soul also being earned. So, looking at the score for just a moment there, not a really lot to take away, just a small lead for Team War. But apologies for some of the tech problems on our end to kind of keep us from bringing this one through. But, I don't want to turn this into too much of a podcast, but I do think it's really interesting just kind of talking about how successful Team Heretics was. And even beyond that, you can even make the conversation for people that played for Enigma 6. And then by the end of the year, going to Modern Warfare, it was almost like none of them had any real weight to go into the next following year, which seemed really, really strange. But I think if you're looking at it from both the Mavericks and Team War perspective, if you're a Spanish community fan, Austin, you got to be hoping that next year, if there's expansions, that one of them is represented in Spain in some way, because the Spanish rosters over the last 2 years have been looking really, really good.
Yeah, they have been looking really good. So, I mean, it is just about kind of having the strongest year and ending on the best note as possible so that you can be picked up, going in towards that following year if expansions come into play and whatnot. So that is really what it comes down to. And it's moments like these where you get to prove that.
Be interesting to be sure. Again, hopefully everything will start to stabilize on our end so we can give you guys the gameplay itself. But Brody, this is one of the things that I will say, generally speaking, that Call of Duty over the last 2 years has become a much more global phenomenon. I mean, we saw a lot of great representation from Japan in a couple of the opens from not last year, but in Black Ops 4. Heretics were kind of the same way. We're getting a lot of representation out of Latin America and things of that nature, and that's great news. I think just if you're a Call of Duty fan in general, is now finally we get back into it. It's Team War up by, again, that same 20-point margin as we get into our next set of hills. Doing well on the first side hard points, but it's all about what happens next. And Mavericks a little slow to the rotation by the looks of it, trying to get over to the second hill.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked already. I guess you hinted towards the fact that we've got Mavericks versus Team War, currently the two top teams in Spanish Call of Duty, and two of the top teams actually have here in European Call of Duty. And right now, well, it seems to be a pretty good, I guess, encounter between these two teams, as we're seeing Team War in the lead by about 30 points or so. Streaks for Metals, there's streaks for Lucky, so you'd figure that Team War should be able to gain some kind of foothold in this game, yet still, Mavericks won't go away. It's Fickle now trying to get at this hill. He won't do it, and Team War get control.
Yeah, this is really, really nice. And I think, again, you just look at this Mavericks team. We talked about it briefly in the small instance that we had to watch them play against Amelia Strays, where, you know, maybe some of the decision-making was not as clear-cut as it needed to be. And that was one of those where you've got 10 seconds of old hardpoint time to go through, and all four members are hitting through old. And I get that at a certain point, you want to hit through old, get into lights, maybe try to flip the spawns around. But at this stage of the game, you feel like you need to put a little bit more pressure on that rotation, maybe a bit sooner. And, well, this is at least a little bit of good news, as they're doing that here between the second and the third. But Vickle is in a world to hurt. It's just him and Sukri by themselves on this rotation.
Ah, dang it. That's big one to lose. Sukri wants to kind of break this and maybe put a nail in this coffin early on here in map number 1. Here's another opportunity to do it as Super and Sukri, the AR duo for Mavericks, going to try and come on through to get control of this hardpoint. Team War, they're just getting all of these gunfights. I mean, to be fair, Super seems to be contesting this hill pretty well from the front. You've got the help of Vickle inside tools. Super is still here, and despite the fact that War keep on respawning around the backline, for a while there, Alan, they couldn't get Mavericks out of the hardpoint.
Yeah, that's okay, though, I think, generally speaking, because Lucky number 5 was playing pretty far forward in his own right for Team War, so, you know, he's stalling off the offensive rotations, and just based on the timing of the spawns, Team War is eventually going to overwhelm that last player. So, yeah, you missed out on maybe 10, 15 seconds from getting a perfect hard point, but look at the score differential. You're going to get this back 10, no problem, which means you're looking at essentially what could be 220 to 130. Lucky already putting some influence over towards the new hill. He's 23 and 11, by the way, just having a whale of a game, and Team War will be cut down from finding this streak over from scrap to initial, but still an opportunity to work an exit and try to contest this hill to put the game away.
Lucky's going to use his streaks. War want to end it here, as you say, Alan. You've got players inside now. Mavericks, you need to hit this one as a roster. Sukri inside green, going to try and get control. He's actually going to get one. Vickle follows up with another one, but Yako sits inside a corner, ready to pounce, will do so. Has more damage to do, though, unfortunately. Not going to get those gunfights, but, I mean, realistically speaking, you're doing what you needed to do. You're keeping Team War out of the hard point, trying to stop them from being able to finish it here, and they've now succeeded in their goal. Team War will have to go to another rotation to finish this game here, Alan.
Yeah, but at a certain point for Mavericks, you can't just keep Team War from winning the game. You have to start putting together the word comeback, little, you know, syllable by syllable at this point. So this is very wise to make sure you're committing a bit forward, try to force some of those exits, know that you've got a little bit of spawn initiation in the back, and beyond that, Vickle's also controlling dark. So now you should know, if Vickle can read one more player through the backside, that, okay, this is a split spawn situation, and Team War are going to have to do what they can with these kind of abbreviated numbers to scrap their way onto the hard point. And, well, to be honest, so far so good. Sukri's kind of looking every which way, trying to figure out where exactly he needs to keep his attention, and as he chooses incorrectly, Team War now a chance to get back into the hard point.
Mel's going to take down Eric Boom. Team War, they're in for the hard point. Mavericks, you got to go now. Super. Could he put a stop to this by going on the outside towards Bricks? The answer is no, not when Yako's snapping like this. Stun's going out. Team War going to fire some streaks in to try and ward off these last few Mavericks players. Just Sukri close by. And at this point, you don't even really have the option to go in as a team. You got to go in one by one. And that just doesn't work against Team War. You were able to close out a map number 1 victory. I'd say that's pretty convincing to say.
And it was very comfortable, I think, is the biggest thing. But hey, that's what you get the luxury of when you've got players like Lucky and Metals who are finding big streaks early on to the game. It sets a tone that, okay, Mavericks, you're trying to run around us, but every decision that you make when it comes to trying to play maybe an off lane or try to hit a flank is being watched by an AR. That gets into your head really, really quick, and it almost changes the way that you have to approach your breaks. And by that, I mean, you essentially, if you're Mavericks, decide, okay, no more weird one-man routes. Let's get together. together. Let's play good trades, which is fine. But when all 4 players have to hit scrap time, you become really one-dimensional as far as what happens after that. And Team War just really, really good at finding a way to adjust and adapt to those changes as needed.
Well, strike one, Alan, right? I mean, we were kind of wondering how this would go between these two teams, with Team War and Mavericks going head-to-head. We have the roster changes that have been made between them, and well, Yakko seems to be winning out on this conversation thus far, with map number 1 going their way, and that was an important map in the series overall also, because we talk about the records before we came into today. It was 3-3 for both of these teams in terms of hard points, so that was really a toss-up that really is going to make the difference, I think, going forward in this series. Alan, Search and Destroy will be up next, and it is going to be, at least as of, again, yesterday, because we haven't updated these stats on our end for it to include today's games thus far. Mavericks are currently in the lead here, 4-2 in Search and Destroy.
Yeah, actually beyond that, with their most recent results, they go to 5-3. Really, the way that we categorize this series, without getting the nitty-gritty of what the numbers look like, Mavericks have to take this Search, and then beyond that, Team War, you really need to take the Control, because flat out for the Search and Destroy, Team War has been a little shaky, just underneath 50% when it comes to their win rate. But like we mentioned, a number of those series have been pretty close, including the recent one versus Orglis, where they lost in around 11. But then you go to the Control conversation on Garrison. Mavericks have been one of the worst teams in Europe so far through this group stage on Control. So a very interesting stat line when it comes down to both teams, essentially 50-50 in the hard point, 1 favored for Search, 1 favored for Control. Realistically, that means that this match couldn't be determined what happens on that Garrison Control in my mind.
Yeah, for sure, right? This is going to be huge, this next map in the series between these two teams. Of course, as you already say, that Control, where maybe these guys haven't had such a good run of things. I'd say overall, to be fair, in regard to Team War and Mavericks, I don't think either of them have come off particularly well off their respective roster change. Like, I kind of get that Team War needed to make the roster change overall, right? But in terms of sort of landing after the roster change, I don't think either of them have done it particularly well. It certainly hurt Mavericks. I will say that much. I think, in terms of War, they needed to make the roster change, whereas Mavericks obviously placing 3rd in stage 3. Would they have wanted to make a roster change if they could have avoided it? Absolutely not. They definitely wouldn't have wanted it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that conversation changes, of course, going forward for Team War. They want to avoid a situation like they had in stage 3, where they were facing down relegation in the final day of the round robin stage. Let's see if they can do that here. It's Search and Destroy on Express. And out the gate, Mavericks barreling towards A as Journey picks up that first blood.
Oh, it does get traded out. Eric Boom with 1. And this is what I love to see. Get the opening trades and try to go for an initial bomb plant. But the problem is it's round 1. There are no trophy systems as of yet. So the attention has to go to Super. He's trying to make a push through the middle of the bullet train. Not going to be able to get past Metals. So it all falls down to Sukri for a 1v3.
Sukri 1 versus 3. He's going to try and sneak his way in from behind. I think Metals and Yakko have sniffed him out, though. Yeah, unlucky, buddy. You can't be doing that, Sukri. Does give it a go, and to be fair, I think in that situation, there's not really much more that you could do.
No. Not in my mind, at least. I mean, you have to try to make a play around the back. You know that the bomb is in a pretty precarious position right over the top of the bomb site itself, so that's not really an option for you when it comes to collecting it. You've got to find a kill somewhere and maybe see if you can influence some movement on the defensive front, but not going to happen. And just kind of zooming out just a touch here as we're still early. For Mavericks, they're coming off of that really atrocious 1-6 loss on Moscow, but this is your comfort zone. Express, you've played the most out of every map so far in Search, and with great success. Outside of a random 0-6 loss to Hot Tub Meta last week, they have been very convincing here with a number of wins that were 6-2 in tally. So for Mavericks, you're just hoping that mentally you're able to reset after the little bit of a clutter that happened during that Moscow Search, and you can just go ahead and say, hey, let's not change too much. Let's just make sure we're staying calm and confident as we get into one of our best overall map mode combos.
Calm and confident. That's the way you got to be here. Mavericks going to be calm and confident on the B site, not giving up anything to Team War. They might have just been giving up a bit of information here. Oh, no. Oh, Eric Boom. Oh, boy. Frozen in a second of time. Eric Boom, not going anywhere. Doing the running man. And, well, I guess we're going to be going back to our beautiful faces in just a second, Alan, potentially. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Just kind of taking a tally of how that round is starting to play out as well. Again, it just goes to show that for Mavericks, they know how much time they have to play with before they need to execute. And that's something that we saw them do a lot during the last stage, where they'll kind of bridge their time, get a little bit of a read, throw some early utility, see if we can scout anything out. Even hitting a trophy system is a good information. And then once you have that information, you're going through your playbook and you're sitting there saying, this is the execute we want. This is not a team that largely does a lot of mid-map adaptations. They love to kind of feel things out and then hit, especially from the offensive side. And largely it works out really nicely for them. It just comes down to the fact that, again, you're playing with a player who knows that on the other side. He was just a part of that system from the last stage. So that round in particular, even though we saw Mavericks kind of go to the tried and true, very reserved, very poking and prodding, you also saw Team War were not getting ever over aggressive anywhere else. So it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see the mind games and the chess game unfold here and how much of that is going to be kind of converse. But we are going to be sending things over just to a small break. It looks like we do have a player issue. So it's a 1-0 tally in the Express so far, very early on in map number 2. We'll step away and come back once everyone is ready. Welcome back, everybody. We're jumping back in. Everyone has reloaded into the lobby. 1-0 tally for Team War, but it's Vickle who comes out hot with a quick double. And, well, blink and you missed the opening splurge over towards the B zone here, Visions. Or, no, Infinity. Sorry. That's
Oh,
you.
how could you betray me like that?
I forgot who I was guessing for a second.
My God. It's okay, I understand it. You know, he wouldn't want to cast a Visions. Anyway, you know, that was pretty quick. You say it, Vickle comes around, gets 2, and effectively shuts the door on that round for Team War. Again, remember, folks, just a quick reminder for you, just add a massive +1 to the 0 that War currently have, of course, because of the round advantage they got before the restart. So that's where we're currently sitting, but now on board with Mavericks for this offense, straight barrel towards B. War, they've kind of opted for more of a mid-control push here. Might work out. Yakko able to pick up 1. Metal's surely going to get a 2nd. He will. Does he get a 3rd? Yes, he does. And quickly, Team War belittle this offensive push from this Maverick side. They just couldn't get it going.
I have to imagine that's a play call from Vickle. After the defense is so widely successful by your SMGs, you have to be saying, let's try it again from the offensive side. The problem is, like you very aptly caught out, was the fact that Team War did not defensively aggress onto that B zone. They were playing hard over through the middle of the map, and once you read that, okay, Mavericks are indeed hitting, let's just make sure we go and contest this bomb plan, and as they do, Metal's able to find 2 nice kills over the top, a little bit of help from the Semtex as well to make life a bit more easy, and now you go back into the next round. You have to feel the mind games right. 2 rounds that were very quick in a row. What is going to be the call this time? And Mavericks will initially double stack onto the B site, but without seeing anything, they'll all very quickly rotate as a collective 4 over towards A.
I like the call from Mavericks here to rotate over towards A and play this one as a pack. Problem is, it does also kind of make you a little bit more susceptible to getting pieced, which Metal's looking to make Mavericks into his own Spanish bargain bucket.
Wow.
Will end up picking up 1. Going to get away as well with his life. No trade from Mavericks. And now the problem is Mavericks, they're kind of scared. They're wondering where Metals is. Well, there's your answer. Metals gives him a nice jump scare. Super takes him down. But I mean, to be fair, Mavericks aren't that much better for it. Team War rotated.
I'm a bit confused on why Metals even gives up that position topside maps. When you have that locked in and you know for a fact the bomb is going to rotate back over towards B, you should just be playing to cut off the rotations. You heard pistol shots, so you have to feel like you know that there are a number of players that are around you. But he gets caught. So now with the 3v3 retake, it's going to be largely from the same defensive side. Super going to be the first one forward. He's already saw Lucky up top, I believe.
I mean, Lucky's just got to waste time. That's all Lucky has to do. There you go. Waste time for Yakko to do that. Lucky finishes up shop. Yakko is the playmaker in that situation. And I don't speak Spanish, but I know exactly what the comms were in that situation. Lucky, just waste time, buddy. All you have to do is just sit there, wave your arms like, look at me, as Yakko comes round and finishes up the round. For War, brilliantly done.
Yeah, I just love the fact that for Team War, even with maybe the small caveat of Metals getting a bit maybe over-aggressive, doesn't really need to, you know for a fact that all of B is clear. That was already scouted out. So what does Yakko do? He actually pushes through the departures lanes, get all the way around the backside of the flank, and the timing is absolutely beautiful. Once you read that, yes, Mavericks, their last 3 players are going to have to rotate through A. It's largely going to be through the middle of the map. And it's just a really nice, solid read. So Team War find themselves now technically up 3-1, and they're going to get a little bit overstacked towards A. Super watching across has found 1 elimination, and that means for Team War, this is going to be a very interesting 3v4 situation with the bomb rotating back over towards B.
They're not going to expect Vickle and Eric in this situation. At least I don't necessarily think so, right? I think Yakko maybe sniffs around, feels that something is up. But I think at this point, the time has passed for Mavericks to make good on that situation. Team War are going to have to go for a retake. Yakko puts some shots into Vickle. Vickle has, of course, the much better positioning to play this.
And Vickle's going to just keep throwing shoulders here. I mean, his teammates are going to definitely try to default to watching down low, but Yakko's still allowed to move up this bridgeway. A bit surprised by that, and that allows Metals a chance to get at least another kill on the board, but Super has the final word. I was initially going to say Vickle, that position is brilliant for him, not only because he can watch players cross, but once he starts to feel threatened, he just has to throw shoulders in this back alley. But kind of leaves Sukri out to dry just a touch as Yakko makes his way forward for a couple of kills. It's just, in the end, not enough in that eventual 3v4 situation that would lead to the 1 number necessary for Mavericks to get back on the board.
It does happen at the end of the day. Mavericks and Team War now all tied up here, or at least from what we can see, they're not actually tied up. Team War are currently 3-2 up here in the search and destroy. Remember from their earlier advantage before the restart. And it's going to be once again Team War on the offense here, opting for a bit of a slower approach. They've sent Metals forward as the advanced guard.
Lucky's doesn't get anything off that stun check. Not a trophy, not a member. The only thing he's going to walk away with is the fact that someone threw a Semtex my way, but you've no idea if that's someone who's playing the backside departures or someone who is a little bit closer up onto info. So Team War are going to rotate and pivot to A, but they have no information as far as where this defense is set up whatsoever until Lucky sees a couple. Not going to be good for 2, but that should be enough for Team War to say, okay, time for us to start making our play on A.
Huge trade for Eric Boone there. Mavericks needed to get that. Now a 3 versus 3 as Team War are going to get this bomb down. Metals wants a piece of Super and Sukri. We'll just wait patiently to be offered it, and there it is. Super jumps down. Metals going to get the kill. Punishes him for his overbearing presence, and Team War able to, well, turn dirt into gold there in that round.
And it's the fact that you are able to allow Metals to get this far forward when you have 2 ARs that are up top on the bridge. You saw for a moment there, it was, I think, Super who was holding the left side corner right by the stairs. He wasn't looking at anything outside of maybe somebody who challenges up the stairs at them. He doesn't get a read on where the push through the A side's coming through. So Team War just get a little bit maybe blessed off timing, or maybe Super got tagged up by one of those incoming grenades to push him back. Regardless, the space was cleared, and Metals getting forward like that in the face of 2 ARs is a situation you don't see him losing all that often, and that will be the case. So now 4-2 and more aggression, this time from Yako mid-map, pushing all the way through the middle concourse, and an opportunity maybe to catch somebody off guard very early into this round.
Sukri needs to win that fight, and we'll keep an eye on it as this round does go on. Mavericks, however, have decided to get this bomb down straight on towards A. Yako has yet to be spotted out, although you've got to imagine that Mavericks have some idea that somebody's going to be coming on the flank, right? So surely, I mean, your spidey senses must be tingling at some point. Maybe not. Yako's going to get an easy kill on a Super. The domino should now surely fall here. This very quickly becomes a 2 versus 3. Make it a 1 versus 3 now for Sukri. Does have the advantage of positioning. Yako's going to get onto, but no. Sukri! No, Sukri! No way! He had the advantage for the positioning, a 1 versus 3. That's disgusting.
Yeah, look at Yako right here on this next play coming through. Yako's going to get on top of this planter, and because that Semtex comes out, look at him trying to throw a counter nade inside the train. He thinks that Sukri's clearing space to try to contest from down low. Never really relooks back up high, and I don't know how much of that is the mind games of Sukri throwing the Semtex or Yako just feeling a little bit nervous, wanted to clear some space, but regardless of it, an incredible 1v3 for Sukri.
Masterpiece from Sukri. That's a round that, honestly, Mavericks desperately needed. You do not want to go down 5-2, and they don't. Now 4-3 still to Team War. Well, I would say they've got aggressive towards A, but I'd say Mavericks much more so. Eric Boom going to draw first blood, and that should put War in a bit of a disadvantageous position.
Oh, a terrible position. I mean, you're absolutely stuck up here into maps. You have to hope you can find Grayson. Oh boy, do they. Eric goes for a very risky mantle. Vickle can try to do the exact same thing. Bold strategy, young gun, but does win the gunfight. The numbers in the end still turn in favor of Mavericks. 2v2 situation. And that will now mean that you've got to play for a defuse. Watching the cross is Lucky. And now Vickle, your chance for a 1v multiple situation.
The young gun for Mavericks. Not really any younger than Eric Boone, to be fair, but certainly in terms of experience on this team. Oh, he's going to get gifted a kill. He's going to get gifted a second. No, he's not. Yako going to win that fight. I thought for a second there, he must have been on like 1 or 2 HP. Barely gets away with his life. What a 1 versus 2 that would have been. I'm going to see it from Yako's POV. Pretty low. Oh, a close one, but War, they find themselves on map point here.
And the potential to go up 2-0 would be astonishing for him, especially going into that control. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But on the other side for Mavericks, I'll say this much. They're playing with much more speed and aggression than we saw even from the first opening round, let alone the last series and the one map that we had a chance to look at. And that's a bit different from what we normally kind of came to see from them out of stage 3. And how about the speed and aggression from Yako again on the flank? This could blow this play up absolutely, finding 1 at least. Very smart to stay alive, but a very early numbers advantage for Team War.
It's getting worse as well. Sub-Sucre. Okay, he does get away. I thought for a second there Metals was about to close the door on this game. Sucre is gifted some breathing space, and I think War rightfully making that decision here. They don't need to go in chasing after him and potentially get pieced by Sucre. It's very easy to forget that this man has been at the top of European Call of Duty for quite some time. He has now been spotted out, though, by Journey. So we'll need to reposition here. Yakko should take him down sooner or later.
I don't think he's hurt him, though, with that little slide cancel as he came through. I mean, like you mentioned, they're in a position to very quickly overwhelm this post plant, but they're going to allow this bomb to be planted. You don't want to give away another 1v3 situation, but they've recognized it's not coming at you. You got to take this win here now.
Does he get away? He does. Jumping on the plane, they're going to go challenge this together. There it is. Sucre, you can't really do much there, to be honest with you. And I'll give him a pretty good effort overall, I'd say, for actually making that one somewhat feasible. Trying to, I think he was trying to dip out the kill cam there at the end, actually, right? Because he kills the first player and dips away for a second.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think, the instance. And he actually just barely even sees the first player. But yeah, that's absolutely just a kill cam bait. You even see Metals coming across the corner, is hard focus on the lockers, but as he turns his attention, gets enough damage in to allow the trade to be there from Journey. But still, 2 out of the 3 kills came through, got tight for a moment, but like we framed up, Team War has been very good in search and destroy comparatively to at least what we've seen from Mavericks thus far. So an opportunity for them to try to get into the mix and now be up 2-0 early. But we go over to the control. That's what's really the big thing coming up next. Mavericks have not been good here, but that said, the one win that they do carry at 1-4 was a 3-0 on control Garrison. So maybe a chance for them to kind of reprise some of that energy, but getting back into this search, this was right off the restart, and the speed that we saw from Mavericks was something that I wouldn't have characterized their search and destroy even in the first week of the gameplay. But it's just one of those things that maybe you're feeling like, okay, we're not winning as convincing as we'd like to, or we need to start being a little bit better when it comes to the express search, especially coming off that 0-6 loss to Hot Tub Meta. And this time it just felt like that speed and tempo was very well read and anticipated by Team War.
Yeah, for sure, right? And there were questions for me at the back of my mind in regard to the search and destroy. I've spoken at length about how, I think everyone has spoken it to death about how when it comes to a roster change, your search and destroy is going to be the thing most widely affected, right? Because obviously that's the thing where your strategies are deepest out of 3 game modes we play here in competitive Call of Duty. For War, it didn't even really look like their search and destroy was all that different from when they were playing Invidian. I suppose a large part of that, actually, and we don't often give enough credit to the coaches, I think, for on teams, is the fact that Invidian is now in a coaching role for a Team War, right?
Oh, sure.
So it's not like those search and destroy strategies have really gone anywhere. It's not like, you still don't have Invidian as part of that conversation. He very much is. And of course, I guess it really does help that Yakko has a lot of experience with these guys on this team. Yeah,
Yakko for me is for sure the key. And I don't know if that's a situation where Yakko's the one making the call that I want to play this a little bit more loosely and aggressively, kind of like an Avizi style, or if that's Invidian saying, this is my new tool in the workshop, let's get some work out of him. Because there were so many rounds that he just gut check called, hard pushed on defense. And the timings, like we mentioned, when he gets around the back of Sucre and finds Super in the back, that's one of those things that you think you're safe because that flank is not normally that quick to come. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. I would have to definitely agree with you. But again, like we mentioned, it's the Garrison control, and then it would have to be a Moscow hardpoint and a standoff search for Mavericks if they want to try to find a way to reverse sweep here. And like mentioned, to try to find a way to get this must-win map, because you've got Elevate tomorrow, which is not a pretty opponent to find when you're already at 2 and 3 in the group.
Yeah, for sure, right? And it's a very different situation. I think generally, if we compare what happened with Stage 3 for Mavericks to now, you lose this series, you're looking down the barrel of relegation. Last time around,
Absolutely.
At the end of week number 2, they were at the end of week 2, day 3, of course, because at the end of week 2, they were already through. But, they were staring down the barrel of a fight for playoffs, immediate playoff spot, right? This is a completely different situation for Mavericks. And it is, I think, a shame, actually. I will say this much for Mavericks again. It does feel a little bit like a tragedy, really, where this roster did have a roster change forced upon them. Yakko leaving again. They simply wouldn't have wanted it if they could have helped it. And although Vickle has done a really good job of filling that hole, it still is, quite apparent that change did kind of mess them up a little bit. So hopefully they can find their footing here. Of course, this is a 5-map series at the end of the day, potentially on our hands. Hopefully it is, because we've got a standoff potentially in map 5 awaiting us. But there is still an opportunity here for Mavericks to come back in this series and pull off a reverse sweep.
And it just kind of speaking on to those infamiliarities, or at least the learning curve when you bring somebody new in unexpectedly. Like the first time that we had a chance to watch this team play, it was actually during the most recent Open where they finished only top 8. And that was already not a great result coming off that, like you mentioned, 3rd place finish from stage 3. They were really clean through the qualifiers just to get into stage 3 in the first place. So that is definitely at least somewhat represented. On the other side, Team War, they pick up Yako, and they finished 3rd in that cup. So it looked like, at least initially, that pickup was a big improvement. You know, only falling to a couple of teams that have historically, over the course of the last 2 months, historically and notoriously been at the top of Europe. To finish 3rd on the first week playing with somebody new has to inspire some great confidence. But then starting off 0-2, not exactly what you like to see, but it looks like the corrections have largely started to come into play, at least versus teams that they should be beating. That's, I think, the big key when it comes to Team War. Your losses were relatively narrow, even in the 0-3 loss you just came off of versus Orglis. A lot of those maps were very close. So that is, at least I think in some form, aspiring to fix 1 or 2 mistakes, and we're beating these teams now, especially coming off the confidence that was established after that 3rd place finish from the Open.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully we should have our questions answered soon enough as to whether or not Mavericks can bounce back, of course. They've got a new roster. You know, Bickle's come in. We're feeling pretty good about it if you're a Spanish fan. To be fair, I think this is one of the best times in Call of Duty history to be a Spanish fan. You know,
Agreed.
I guess I say it's only challengers, because it's not only challengers. You know, you've got to kind of, people forget that outside the 12 teams in this Call of Duty League, the teams at the very top of Challengers Elite, they're up there as sort of your 13th through 16 teams in terms of global rankings overall, and maybe even better than that, depending on where you rank Challengers teams within those CDL rosters. So if you're a Spanish fan, this is one of the best times to be a fan of Call of Duty, because you've got 2 great Spanish teams going head to head here. We're in the control though, Alan. Mavericks, they're on B early on.
Yeah, and they need to be very convincing in this opening offense, in my mind. Again, reverse sweep required. You just don't want to be behind having to play just for this map in particular. You would love to get some confidence being built against this squad. And initially, as you mentioned, the 1 kill allows them to get onto B, but it's Metals for 3 kills so far. Again, this AR line between Metals and Lucky has been lights out so far in the 2 maps that we've seen them play. That continues to be the case. Metals even finding himself an SMG for now 5 kills off the rip.
This is not a good look for Mavericks right out the gate. What, they've got 1 kill against Team War?
Yeah.
Oh boy, they need to get something going very quickly. I think people often forget how hard it is to actually break out of a spawn trap here on Garrison Control. I know the players don't often forget, right? Because they remind us of it quite often. But we now see Mavericks in this exact position. Oh, Yako! Woo! Oh, Sukri. Oh no, it's okay, pal. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It didn't happen. Mavericks, though, they've got 1 player through the defensive line. That is going to be Eric Boom. Effectively, all hopes are on him for this round. Yako causing problems inside artillery. And Mavericks cannot get out of their spawn. They have 4 kills in this first round. Luckily for them, that won't matter for a round number 5 anymore. Still, though, this has been a great round for Team War.
It's been a perfect round for Team War. I mean, outside of Vickle's little moment breaking out, there has been no kills to speak of for Mavericks at all. They are on B with a couple of players, at least they have to have a couple of players on. Now it just falls onto Super's shoulders. There will be a little bit of help coming from behind, but you've got to get on, you've got to delay. And for Team War, you've got tons of time to just work with, set up, and decide if we want to try to contest this final 1.4 seconds.
I think you kind of have to, realistically speaking. I mean, what? You've got that safety net of a beast, but back on Metals. No way. Okay, he gets 2, and there it is anyway. The players get removed from the point. Team War.
Last team kill comes through up top. So yeah, give him credit for all 3 here, because watch how this all unfolds for Metals. Gets this first, actually this is a little bit earlier on in the round where he went on his early spree, but in that final moment, he gets 2 kills and tags up the 3rd, where the 4th player was positioned topside bridge. He's trying to help kill Metals and unfortunately takes his teammate out. That would have been enough. If you get Metals off that point, Mavericks are looking at an extra 60 seconds. That was an easy second tick of progress on the way. And then with the the respawns coming up for Team War, it could have been a 3rd. So for Metals to find 2 and force out the team kill, he single-handedly makes sure that 1.4 seconds was the win condition. Good stuff from him.
Well, Team War having a solid start, although they were on the defense. So let's see if Mavericks can come out with just as convincing of the defense of their own. That's what they need to do. And so far, it's not going well right out the gate. Journey's able to pick up 2 players inside B. Yako's pushing up to bricks, causing problems for Mavericks as they jump out of square 1. It's able to pick up one, but again, it's just time wasting at this point, isn't it? And Team War are now going to try and open up their options here. They're turning metals over towards B. Or A, sorry.
And we've seen a lot of teams do this, and I've commented on it before, but this is what I like to call the Atlanta phase strategy, just because they were the ones to really largely find the most success with it, where you open up space mid-map, you want to make sure you can get someone topside green, and then once you do, that zone will indicate if there's someone contesting defensively on that A zone. If nobody's there, step onto it and force the defense to have to make a choice. Do we want to try to go and clear off the B zone to make sure it stays safe, maybe with 2 ticks that are gone, and then give up maybe a tick of progress at A? Or do we completely chalk B, try to regain the A zone? Regardless, the decision will always favor what the offense is putting together, and it does once more there.
Well, B has fallen by the wayside. However, there is a unique opportunity here for Mavericks to start spawn trapping Team War. If they can waste a significant amount of time, it would be huge. Look at this play from Super. Just looking at him, making sure that he lines them all up. He only gets one. Will turn the attention of Team War here away from the defensive line. Super perfect. Great execution, 10 out of 10. Len Goodman would be proud.
It's like he's watching a How to Twerk 101 tutorial, just sitting there watching the backside. Too funny for sure, but that will put Team War back into the spawn, having to fight across. You do see a couple of more Mavericks members stretched over the middle of the map, and Metals, oh my goodness, if he gets away and finds a kill on Asukri, that could have been absolutely devastating for the Mavericks defense, but in the end, it all results in trades, which is not terrible news for Mavericks thus far. Sukri was potentially working for a streak, but playing an aggressive angle, he does get taken care of, and everything once more goes back to neutral as the kill feed goes pinstripe again.
Team War have managed to escape the strap. They've got out of their spawn. Now it's just about following up with some map control, because time is very quickly running out in this game as Super and Sukri are able to pick up a couple of kills. Bickle picks up yet another one. We're down to our last 25 seconds of time now, Shift. There's not really much room to maneuver. Team War, they keep on falling. Eric Boom going to get out of a Semtex sandwich. And one last push is all Team War have. Yakko and Journey, they're going to pick up a couple of kills. They have the numbers. It's just Super and Eric Boom now on the point. Eric going to fall. There is Super. And now Team War, they're on the point. They could stack this. And just how quickly the tables have turned in this moment. Mavericks, they have the lives though. This needs to be perfect from War. It just isn't. And what a Hail Mary play that was though, Shift.
It got more interesting than it needed to. You had a 2-2 split for the defensive Mavericks onto that A zone. 2 players over the backside middle of the map. One of them was Sukri right here. The other, I believe, was Vickle right next to him. And then you had Super on the hard point, like you mentioned, with Eric Boom. And once you lose both players mid-map, these 2 players on the zone are gone. It's just, there's no way you're going to be able to trade out from 2 extreme locations. So Mavericks, you know, it's one of those moments that you look back at and you have to sit there and just play for a trade. Time becoming that low, all you have to do is get 1 kill down the middle of the map, because coming out of top green, it's just not going to be very likely into the power positions of Mavericks defense to actually win it if you're Team War. Their only bridge of success was to make that play through mid. The fact that they get those 2 kills cleanly gives them a look. It's just not a look at a long enough amount of time. We go tied 1-1 into the 3rd round.
Mavericks gonna put a load of bodies onto B right out of the gate on this one. Vickle trying to get control of green. I'd say he's done a pretty good job of it for the moment with that first blood. Team War gonna be more than content at the moment just to send Journey to sit on this point. Effectively, you don't want to get overzealous here if you're Journey. And I guess it's just the illusion at the moment, right? That there's more players over here than there actually are.
I was going to say this is like a Mexican standoff, but I guess we could call it a Spanish standoff, because literally it was just both teams contesting both zones. You're just waiting to see who's going to make the first move, and in the end, Team War will find more success than Mavericks do, but you can definitely see what the strategy is when it comes down to what that initial setup looks like, with wanting to play for A if possible. But Team War's little bit of extra patience pans out. They retake, only giving away a single tick of progress at B. Yakko tries to find some familiarity by playing through ammo, but is taken down a little more swiftly this time. So Mavericks able to find at least an exit from their spawn, but it's how do you get through Journey next to Metals here on the top side of the platform. And apparently that's a good way to start, as Suka just mantles on up with the Diamati, but he doesn't have enough help with them. And now is again Team War pushing extra forward with not a lot of time on the clock.
I really thought Sukri had the play there. Inside caution. I thought that was it. I thought that was the moment where Mavericks are going to break out of the spawn trap. Unfortunately, well, I had a little bit too much confidence in Sucre's ability to get that 2 pieces. Now War have them trapped inside their spawn. A couple of players have managed to slip the net here. Metals will pick up a couple before falling, and now it's all on Super. He can't do anything. Time has run out. And War, I mean, once again, standard as always, able to win their defensive play, as is always the way with this map. All defenses at the moment here, Shift.
And that's not great news in the macro of schemes of things. Even if Mavericks sort of put together a defensive hold, I believe, just based on what we've seen so far, that will still mean that Mavericks going to round 5 would have to play an offense. So, I mean, they have found marginal, if any, success at all so far on their attack. And that last round, I think, was the most successful. What at least getting the opening wins to get yourself into that forward position, like you mentioned, where you've got that 1-3 split setup, where you're waiting for Team War to challenge you first, but at the end of the day, they could sit there and contest the zone the entire route if they want to. I mean, the attack is the one that has to make those proactive decisions, and as soon as Mavericks did, that's where Team War were able to turn it aside. So a small step in the right direction for Mavericks, but not a significant one, that's for sure.
Well, War could well end it here. Just one good defensive, or one good offensive push, sorry, and, well, it's done. And they got pretty close last time around, right? Even with not a huge amount of lives, they got pretty close, and now this has gone just as well again. And I'm really intrigued to see what Yako does here, because he could push through the offensive or defensive line, try and cause some issues with Maverick inside their spawn. Does get a little bit too overzealous, I'd argue.
Yes.
Will pull straight away. Team War going to have to back up to get in control of green.
It's moments like that where Yako is an individual special talent, without question. But in that moment, you have to have some restraint, and you have to know that, okay, what's happening with my team right now? 2 players are stacked on B. I got 1 player topside bridge. You just have to stay alive. Force Mavericks to deal with you. Don't push forward and give them a chance to get you freely. So regardless, Team War will get the B zone, but look at the position they find themselves in now. You don't have the ability to go right over to A, and if Yako just stays alive and goes one or two extra kills, you've got the potential if your Team War to immediately stretch back over to that A zone and start making some double progress, but not the case, and that means there is an opportunity here for Mavericks to try to send this to a 5th round. Super dancing with Yako, and boy, it's a dance with the devil, it feels like, but still comes away with a 2-for-1 trade overall.
Super just uses weapon to disfigure Yako. Betrayer for this Mavericks lineup. Now it's going to be Team War, though. They have the advantage in terms of live. They do actually have a fair bit of time to work with. A couple more solid pushes, and that would be enough. Trades coming out in favor of Vickle and Mavericks, but a huge 1v1. Yako, now this is the time you need to sit inside bricks and zone. Do not let Mavericks past you. At least a couple of kills just to waste time, and there it is. He only needed 1. Team War, they are now on the point, and Yako can just continue to be a pain in the backside for this team, or Mavericks roster. They've somehow managed to get on the point, though. It's going to be Eric Boom. He's able to pick up 1. It's just unlucky now to try and waste some time. Can he get it done?
He tries to stay alive with the sat truck just to try to bait players into his web, but no, Mavericks will retake, but Journey's around the back. He'll find 1 in a second, and now again, Team War can try to put this game away.
It's a 3 versus 2. On the point, it's all on Sucker and Agri, but they get it done! They win the 1v2, and now it's Journey. Hero, he's gonna fall as well! What a clutch set of kills there from Eric Boom and Sukri. Effectively turning this entire situation on its head here, Shift. Team War now have, I'd say, what, 1 or 2 good pushes left in them? Maybe just 1, given the amount of time we have left in this, right?
Think of the win conditions, though. It's not just the fact that there's 2 ticks of progress. It's a 9v6, so Team War can honestly just play this off the life count to win, but you need to win those trades. Super will be the first one to fall. War positioned to try to put this away here in the 4th.
There it is. I mean, Sukri, he has to do everything here. You talk about the life situation. Well, that was it. Down to a T. Talk about the zone situation. Sukri doesn't really have much time to waste there in the end, as Team War going to confidently take round number 4. It was a bit of a back and forth play for the first 3 rounds of our control shift, but round number 4 is a confident full stop on this one. As Team War, we asked the question, who is going to come better off of those roster changes between War and Mavericks? And War, well, we already got a hint of it with open number 3, but they now, I think, have solidified that here with this 3-0.
And I just really love that discipline from Team War. With the clock starting to tick against you, you get that little ticking sound in your ears. You say, we gotta go, we gotta go. But not Team War. They sit there and say, boys, we've got lives. Let's play for trades first. That in its own self will force Mavericks to really steeply step off the gas pedal. And as they do, then you play for the zone and force Mavericks to once more come back to you. Let's take a look back over our schedule here as we get Visions back into the mix. Again, it was a very interesting first series with Los Pepes playing up against the Originals and also Team War playing up against Mavericks. Both teams with a lot of kind of make or break moments in front of them when it comes to the overall standings. With that win, not only from Team War, but also Los Pepes, they get a little bit of comfort built in towards what happens going into their final day tomorrow, Austin.
That's right. And I mean, that was also a really big win, I think, coming through for Team War. I wanted to see them come out and actually win convincingly. And I think seeing the 3-0 and seeing the way that they clutched up near the end and there in the control when things were looking like it might have been a crazy comeback was really, really big. But overall, yeah, this does actually mean that the standings here are going to be really interesting. Mavericks have lost out on a couple of series today, which is really unfortunate for them, as it's going to be extremely difficult to kind of break in towards this top 6 that's going to move on for us. But this is a couple of great series that we got overall. I mean, we look at the first one, I thought Los Pepes overall played extremely well. They looked really solid in the respawns, and then Team War come away with a nice 3-0 and do just about the exact same thing.
A must-win moment, I would say, overall for Mavericks. That puts them down to 2-4. And at least based on the results right now, that means there's actually a 3-way tie potential at the bottom of Europe, with every single team having one more match to play upcoming tomorrow. But for us, our conversation will not just wrap up Europe, but also looking forward to what's coming up in North America, because, hey, in about 2 hours, we'll be back to give you some more Challengers Elite action. But here in Europe, things get very, very dicey, I would say, generally speaking, with all those teams we saw pinned up at 2-2. But for Mavericks, they fall short. Beyond that, also the Originals now having to fight for their lives, maybe a touch more than they would have liked. But North America comes up next. You thought the conversation on Europe was good. Just wait until we talk about the 13 former pro players that are sitting in North American Elite that are still battling for a chance to get out of relegation, and beyond that, also qualify for playoffs. We'll catch you at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the continuation of Day 3 of the group stage of North America.